The echo of the radio has always been a companion to loneliness. Especially on quiet late nights like this, when the world seems to fall asleep, some people are still awake. Some wake up from nightmares. Some stay awake because of an unnamed pain, and I, Morgan H., am also one who stays awake to listen to and recount their stories. Hello, dear listeners of Late Night Tales Radio. I'm broadcasting from a small radio station deep in the Whispering Pines forest, about a 30-minute drive from the nearest town. Tonight, outside my studio window, the autumn wind is whistling through the dry leaves, creating a natural soundtrack for our show. Today is a special day in the history of world medicine. Exactly 70 years ago, on October 15, 1954, the first X-ray machine was widely used in medical diagnosis. And coincidentally, the first story I want to share with you tonight is related to an X-ray room. Before I begin, I want to tell you that all the stories I tell are sent in by our dear listeners. They have experienced moments where the line between life and death blurred. People who were clinically dead and then returned with inexplicable experiences. The first story comes from an email I received last Tuesday. The sender is Anna Chen, 33, currently living in Boston. She works as a graphic designer, a single woman with a fairly peaceful life until this incident occurred. The first line in Anna's email made me stop and reread it several times. Dear Morgan, I was dead for 4 minutes and 23 seconds, and during that time, I saw things I will never be able to forget. Let me recount Anna's story in her own words. It happened last Friday afternoon, October 4th. I was at Boston General Hospital for a series of routine tests. Last year, I discovered I was allergic to certain medications, but the doctor wanted to check more carefully to ensure safety for future treatments. Everything went normally. I had completed my chest X-ray, and the nurse was preparing to inject a contrast agent for a few more images. They asked me about my allergy history. I told them everything. But perhaps there was something in the medication mixture that my body couldn't accept. I clearly remember the moment the needle pierced my vein, the cold sensation spreading through my arm. Then suddenly, I felt it difficult to breathe, really difficult, as if someone was strangling my throat. I can't breathe, I whispered to the nurse. She looked at me with worried eyes. Ms. Chen, are you okay? Do you feel? I couldn't hear anymore. All the sounds around me seemed to be sucked into a deep abyss. My heart pounded as if it was about to explode, and then suddenly everything stopped. I saw a light, not the blinding light everyone talks about, but small, sparkling lights like tiny stars. They appeared on the ceiling of the X-ray room where I was lying. At first, I thought it was a hallucination due to lack of oxygen. But those little stars began to move, they formed a shape. The shape of a hand, a child's hand. I could clearly see each tiny finger, each palm line. The hand was open as if waving to me or pleading with me for something. She's losing her heart, call a doctor immediately. I heard shouts from far away, but I couldn't take my eyes off the glowing hand on the ceiling. The hand began to move, the tiny fingers curling then spreading, repeating as if trying to tell me something. And then I heard breathing. Not my breathing, nor that of the doctors trying to save me. It was a child's breathing, deep and prolonged, as if the child was sleeping. I wanted to ask, "Who are you?" But no sound came out of my mouth. I could only lie there and watch. The glowing hand began to fade, but before it completely disappeared, I saw another image, a face. The face of a little girl about 7 or 8 years old. She had long hair, big round eyes, and a gentle smile. "Big sister," I heard a voice in my head. "Big sister, don't be scared, I just want to say hello." "Who are you?" I asked in my mind. "I'm Lily. I used to lie here too, on this very bed in this very room, but I couldn't come back like you, big sister." I felt tears streaming down, not tears of sadness, but tears of understanding. I knew who Lily was, I knew what she wanted. "You want someone to remember you, don't you?" "Yes, I've been here alone for a very long time. No one remembers me, no one knows my name. I just want someone to know that I existed." The lights on the ceiling began to change into another image. I saw an old hospital room, a little girl lying in bed on a ventilator. Next to her was a woman, perhaps her mother, crying. "My mom had to leave a long time ago," Lily said. "She couldn't bear to see me like that. She thought I was unconscious, but I knew everything, I heard everything." The image changed. I saw the little girl stop breathing, machines blaring alarms. Doctors rushed in, but it was too late. "I died in 1987, Lily said. "October 4th, the same day as today in this same room. This X-ray room used to be my hospital room. 2024, 1987 equals 37 years. Lily had been here alone for 37 years. Will you remember me, big sister? She asked. I will always keep you in my heart, I promised. And at that moment, I heard the machines beeping, the alarm of the heart monitor. But this time it was a steady rhythm. I was coming back. Miss Chen, can you hear me? The doctor was calling me. I opened my eyes. The ceiling was just a normal ceiling, no lights at all. But I knew that Lily was still there, watching me with a gentle smile. You had a severe anaphylactic shock, the doctor explained. Your heart stopped for over 4 minutes. We almost lost you. 4 minutes and 23 seconds, I counted precisely. After returning home, I researched the history of Boston General Hospital. I discovered that the X-ray room where I lay had indeed once been a pediatric patient room. And on October 4, 1987, a little girl named Lily Margaret Thompson died there. She was 8 years old and suffered from septicemia. Her family moved out of Boston shortly after, and no one knew where they went. I found Lily's grave in Mount Auburn Cemetery, a small, simple grave with no visitors. I brought a bouquet of white chrysanthemums, her favorite flowers. As I laid the flowers down, I felt a gentle breeze blow past, and I heard a whisper. Thank you, big sister. I knew Lily could finally rest in peace. But the story didn't end there. 2 days later, I received a call from the hospital. A nurse named Sarah, who had worked there since 1985, called me. I heard you asked about little Lily, she said. I want you to know that over the past 37 years, at least 20 other patients have reported seeing a small girl in the X-ray room. But since last week, after you were hospitalized, we haven't received any more reports. Has Lily moved on? I asked. I think so. She just needed someone to remember her, and you did that. I hung up the phone with a smile on my face, not because I survived, but because Lily had finally found peace. That was Anna Chen's story. When I finished reading this email, I sat quietly in the studio for several minutes. Not because I was scared, but because I was moved. Sometimes ghosts don't appear to harm us. They just want to be remembered, want someone to know that they once existed in this world. In the case of little Lily, she waited for 37 years just to get a greeting, a promise that someone would remember her. I called Anna to ask for more details. She said that now, every time she passes Boston General Hospital, she feels an unusual warmth, as if someone is smiling, happy somewhere. Do you believe in stories like this? I do, because I believe that love and compassion can cross the boundary between life and death. Lily didn't need a miracle to be freed. She just needed an understanding heart and a sincere promise. Outside the window, the wind continued to whistle through the branches, but I felt that the sound was no longer cold. It sounded like a lullaby sung by a little girl for those she loved. We will return with the next story, a story about singing from heart monitors. Don't go anywhere. This is Morgan H., and you're listening to Late Night Tales Radio. We are back with Late Night Tales Radio. I am Morgan H., broadcasting from a small cabin deep in the Whispering Pines forest. We just heard the story of Anna Chen and little Lily. I noticed quite a few calls and messages after that story. Some of you shared that you also had similar experiences. Thank you for trusting and sharing. Outside, the fog is getting thicker. I can see tall trees obscuring the view, creating strange silhouettes in the night. But that's not the strangest thing I'm going to tell you tonight. The next story comes from a rather special source, not an email or a letter, but a phone call. The call came at 2:30 a.m. last Wednesday. The caller introduced himself as Jonathan Rivera, 41, currently living in Manhattan, New York. The special thing is that Jonathan called from a hospital room. He had just undergone major heart surgery at New York Presbyterian Hospital and was in recovery. But he told me that he couldn't sleep, not because of pain, but because of the sounds he kept hearing from the heart monitor next to his bed. I know this sounds crazy, he told me over the phone, but I need to tell someone, I need someone to believe me. I told him I would listen, and this is the story he told. I am a civil engineer with a high-pressure, stressful job. For the past 20 years, I've worked tirelessly, ignoring all warnings from my body until last month when I had my first heart attack. It was a normal Monday morning. I was in a meeting with investors about a 40-story building project. Suddenly, I felt chest pain, not ordinary pain, but a pain as if someone was hammering my chest. I tried to hide it, but I couldn't. I collapsed right there in the meeting room. The last thing I remember was my secretary's scream and the siren of an ambulance. I woke up in the ICU of New York Presbyterian. The doctor said I had an acute myocardial infarction and needed immediate surgery to place a stent to open the artery. The surgery was scheduled for Wednesday afternoon. I wasn't afraid to die. I was only afraid that I wouldn't be able to finish my project. Sounds silly, doesn't it? Even facing death, I still only thought about work. Before going into the operating room, I called my wife, Maria. We had been married for 15 years, but in the last 5 years, I rarely came home on time. I was always busy with work. "Jonathan," she said over the phone, "you have to promise me, if you make it through this surgery, you will change, you will make time for your family." "I promise," I replied, but deep down I knew that I might not be able to keep that promise. The surgery went smoothly. I remember the steady beeping of machines, the doctors talking, then everything went dark. I don't know how long I was gone, maybe a few minutes, maybe a few seconds. But during that time, I didn't see any light, I didn't see a tunnel, I only heard music. At first, I thought it was music from the operating room, but it wasn't. It was a voice. The voice of a man singing very softly, like a lullaby. I couldn't understand the lyrics. It wasn't English nor Spanish. It seemed like an ancient, distant language, but the melody was familiar, as if I had heard it somewhere before. A sad but loving melody. I tried to open my eyes, but I couldn't. I could only listen, and the more I listened, the more peaceful I felt. The voice continued, and I began to understand a few words. Not understanding with my ears, but understanding with my heart. My son, Father," I whispered. "Yes, it's me." I hadn't heard my father's voice in 25 years. He died when I was 16, also from a heart attack, also from overwork. "Are you real, Dad?" I asked. "I've always been here, son. I've always sung to you, but you didn't hear me because you were too busy." I remembered when I was a child, every night before bed, Dad always sang the same song to me, the same melody. An old Spanish song he learned from my grandmother. "Do you remember the lyrics?" Dad asked. "I don't remember, Dad. Let me sing it to you again." And he began to sing, word by word. I remembered everything. It was a song about a father's love for his son, about always being there, whether the son could see it or not. "I've been singing this song to you for the past 25 years, he said, "but you didn't hear it because you were too focused on other things." "Can you forgive me?" I asked. "I wasn't there for you when you died." "There's nothing to forgive, son. I understand. I was once like you. I also thought work was more important than family." "So what should I do now?" "You should live, truly live. Don't be like me, don't be like you in recent years. Spend time with Maria, spend time with yourself." The voice began to fade. I felt myself being pulled back to another place. "Dad, don't go," I pleaded. "I'm not going anywhere, son. I'll always be here in the song in your heart. Whenever you feel lonely, just listen, I'll sing to you. I love you, Dad. I love you too, always." And I woke up in the recovery room, the heart monitor next to me beeping steadily. But I heard something in that sound, a melody, the melody of Dad's song. "He's awake," the nurse said. "His heart stopped for 6 minutes. We had to use the defibrillator to bring him back." 6 minutes I had listened to Dad sing. "Is someone singing?" I asked the nurse. "No one is singing, sir, it's just the machines." But I still heard it clearly. From the heart monitor, each beep forming a note, each series of beeps forming a line of the song. I called Maria, and she rushed to the hospital. When she saw me, she cried. "I'm sorry," she said. "I wasn't there for you when you needed me." "No, my love," I said. "I'm sorry. I wasn't there for you when you needed me." We hugged, and in that moment, I heard Dad's song clearer than ever. He was singing a song of love, not just the love of father and son, but the love of a family. But the strangest thing happened the next night. I couldn't sleep, not because of pain, but because of the singing from the heart monitor. I called the nurse. "Can you check this machine?" I asked. "I think it's broken." She checked, the machine was working normally. "Is there a problem? Do you hear singing?" She listened. "I only hear beeps." But I still heard it, and I began to realize that it wasn't singing from the machine. It was singing from my heart, the heart that Dad had left for me. The heart that I had forgotten how to listen to. I asked the nurse for a guitar. She was surprised but complied. I hadn't played guitar in 20 years, but I began to strum along to the melody I heard. And I sang Dad's song. The song he had sung to me for the past 25 years that I hadn't heard. Other patients in the room began to listen. Some cried, some smiled. I knew that they were also hearing their own songs. Songs from those they loved. An old man in the corner of the room told me, "Do you hear your grandmother's song? She's been singing that song since I was a child." I looked at his heart monitor. It was also making sounds, but not beeps. It was the singing of an old woman. "I hear it," I said. "She's singing beautifully." That whole night, we listened to music, not from the radio, not from the television, but from our own hearts, from those we loved, those who had passed but never truly left. The next morning, the doctor said I could be discharged. Before leaving the room, I left the guitar for the other patients with a note: "Listen to your heart. They are singing to you." Now I am home with Maria. We have decided to change our lives. I will reduce my work. We will spend time together. And every night before bed, I sing Dad's song. Maria says she also hears singing, not from my dad, but from her mom. She passed away 10 years ago, but she's still singing the Spanish songs she used to sing to Maria when she was little. "Are we going crazy?" Maria asked me. "If so," I said, "then I want to be crazy like this forever." And the most miraculous thing is, whenever I'm stressed or anxious, I just need to put my hand on my chest, listen to my heartbeat, and Dad will sing to me. A song about love, a song about family, a song about truly living. I called Morgan because I want others to know that sometimes death is not the end. Sometimes it is the beginning of something more beautiful, a new way of listening, a new way of loving. And if anyone is listening to this show, if anyone is feeling lonely, stop for a minute, put your hand on your chest, listen to your heartbeat. Maybe you will hear the singing of someone who loves you, someone who has always been there but you never listened. That was Jonathan Rivera's story. After he finished, we were silent for a few seconds. I could hear his steady breathing over the phone, and I swear I heard something else too, a very faint melody like a distant song. "Jonathan," I said, "thank you for sharing this story with us." "Thank you, Morgan, for listening. I hope that someone will be helped by this story." After hanging up, I sat silently in the studio. I put my hand on my chest, listened to my heartbeat, and wondered if I heard anyone singing. Maybe all of us have our own songs from those who have passed but still love us. We just need to know how to listen. Would you like to try? Right now, put your hand on your chest, listen to your heartbeat, and let me know if you hear anything. We will continue with the third story after a short break, a story about ghosts in the mist of the endoscope. Stay with us. This is Morgan H., broadcasting from the heart of Whispering Pines Forest, and you're listening to Late Night Tales Radio. Welcome back to Late Night Tales Radio. I'm Morgan H. We just heard Jonathan Rivera's touching story about his deceased father's song. The phone here is ringing constantly, with calls from listeners wanting to share similar experiences. An old lady in Oregon called to say she also hears her husband singing from the oxygen concentrator. A young man in Texas said he hears his brother's guitar from the ECG monitor. It seems the stories we share are touching many hearts. And that's exactly why I continue doing this show night after night, from this small cabin deep in the forest. It's midnight now. The fog outside has become so thick that I can barely see the tall pine trees right outside the window. But in this stillness, I feel like something is waiting. Another story needs to be told, and this one came to me in a rather unexpected way. Not through email or phone call, but through a handwritten letter. The envelope had no sender address, only a line from a retired nurse. I opened the letter yesterday afternoon and read the first sentence. "Dear Morgan H., I have been a nurse for 35 years. I have witnessed many strange things, but nothing as strange as what happened to Sarah Martinez." The letter was written in beautiful handwriting, probably by an elderly woman. The writer introduced herself as Nancy Wilson, 67, retired from Los Angeles Children's Hospital. She said she had kept this story in her heart for 30 years, not daring to tell anyone, until she heard my show. Sarah Martinez, she wrote, was a young nurse, 29, working in the endoscopy department. She was one of my favorites, always dedicated to her patients, especially children, until that fateful day. Let me recount the story as Nancy wrote it. On May 23, 2021, we had an emergency endoscopy. A 6-year-old boy named Danny had swallowed a small battery. The battery was damaging his stomach and needed to be removed immediately. Sarah volunteered to work the night shift to assist the doctor. She was always like that, always ready to sacrifice her personal time for patients. The endoscopy started at 11:00 p.m. Little Danny was anesthetized. Dr. Rodriguez held the endoscope, Sarah stood by assisting. I was responsible for monitoring the child's vital signs. Everything went normally for the first 20 minutes. We located the battery. Dr. Rodriguez was about to use small forceps to remove it, but at that moment, Danny had a reaction to the anesthetic. His blood pressure suddenly dropped, his heart rate slowed, the alarm blared. "We have to stop," Dr. Rodriguez said. "Take him to the emergency room." But Sarah looked at the endoscope screen and saw something horrible. The battery was leaking acid. If we didn't remove it immediately, Danny would suffer irreversible bowel damage. "Doctor," Sarah said, "we have to continue. We can't leave him like this." "It's too dangerous." Dr. Rodriguez shook his head. "He could die." But Sarah made her decision. She grabbed the endoscope from the doctor's hand. "I'll do it. I'll take responsibility." I looked at Sarah in horror. She wasn't a doctor. She wasn't allowed to perform this procedure. "Sarah, you can't," I said, but she had already started. With trembling hands, Sarah maneuvered the endoscope deeper into Danny's stomach. I saw sweat pouring from her forehead. "I see it," she whispered. "I see the battery." On the screen, we saw the small battery leaking green acid with signs of mucosal damage around it. Sarah held the small forceps trying to grasp the battery, but her hands trembled too much. The forceps slipped off the battery. "I can't," she said, tears streaming down. "I can't do it." Just then, something strange happened. On the endoscope screen, we saw a shadow, not the shadow of the forceps or the endoscope, but the shadow of a hand, a person's hand. "Do you see it, doctors?" Sarah asked. "See what?" Dr. Rodriguez looked at the screen. "That hand, someone's helping me." I looked at the screen and I saw a faint, ghostly hand guiding Sarah's hand. The hand rested on Sarah's, helping her steady it. "Don't be afraid," I heard a voice, not from anyone in the room, but from the screen. "I will help you." Sarah looked at me with wide eyes. "Nancy, do you hear it?" "I hear it," I whispered. The ghostly hand guided Sarah to move the forceps into the correct position. This time, Sarah's hand no longer trembled. She skillfully grasped the battery, carefully pulling it out of Danny's stomach. "It's done," Sarah said. "I got it out." The battery was placed in a sterile tray. Little Danny was out of danger. His heart rate returned to normal, blood pressure stabilized. But Sarah kept staring at the endoscope screen. "Where is that person?" "Which person?" Dr. Rodriguez asked. "The one who helped me, the hand." On the screen, there was only the normal image inside Danny's stomach, no more ghostly shadows. "Sarah," I said, "perhaps you're too stressed, perhaps you imagined it." But I knew that I had also seen it, I had also heard that voice. After the endoscopy ended, Sarah and I sat in the nurse's station. She drank coffee, her hands still trembling. "Nancy," she said, "I know you saw it, I know you heard it." "I saw it," I admitted, "but I don't know what it was." Sarah was silent for a moment, then she told me about Patricia Hernandez, an endoscopist who had worked at this hospital for 15 years. She had saved thousands of children's lives. "She passed away in 2019, Sarah said. "Lung cancer." Before she died, she told me that she would always be here, always helping the children. I think that was her. I know it was her. I recognized her voice. I recognized her hands. I didn't know what to say, but I believed Sarah. I had worked with her long enough to know she wasn't imaginative. 3 days later, we had another endoscopy. A 4-year-old girl had swallowed a button. This time, I paid special attention to the screen and I saw it again. The ghostly hand guiding Dr. Rodriguez, helping him perform the procedure perfectly. "Dr. Rodriguez," I asked after the endoscopy, "did you see anything strange?" "Strange?" he asked. "Did you see any shadows on the screen?" He looked at me oddly. "Nancy, are you all right? I only see the inside of the patient's stomach." Only Sarah and I saw it, and perhaps only we needed to see it. For the next 6 months, Dr. Hernandez appeared in every difficult endoscopy. Whenever a patient was in critical condition, whenever we needed help. Sarah began to talk to her. "Thank you, Dr. Hernandez, you saved this child." And we always heard the answer, "You're welcome, it's our job." But then, one night in May 2022, something terrible happened. We had an emergency endoscopy. An 8-year-old boy had bowel obstruction and needed immediate surgery. While preparing the equipment, Sarah suddenly collapsed. She convulsed, foam at her mouth. "Sarah," I screamed. We rushed her to the emergency room. The doctor said she had anaphylactic shock to a new disinfectant the hospital had just started using. Sarah stopped breathing for 3 minutes, her heart stopped beating. We tried our best to save her. When she woke up, the first thing she said was, "I met her." "Met who?" I asked. "Dr. Hernandez, she was waiting for me." Sarah recounted that during her clinical death, she saw herself standing in a pure white room. Dr. Hernandez was there, wearing a white lab coat just like before. She told me she was waiting for me, Sarah recounted. She needed my help. Help with what? There are children on the other side, children who died during treatment. She's taking care of them, but she needs more help. I felt a chill. So what did you say? I told her I wasn't ready, I still wanted to live, I still wanted to help the children here. Did she say anything? She smiled. She said, "All right, my dear, but when you're ready, come, I'll be waiting for you." Then what? Then I woke up and I knew that she no longer appeared on the endoscope screen. I had refused to go with her. She had respected my decision. Indeed, from that day on, we no longer saw Dr. Hernandez, but Sarah had changed. She became more confident, more skillful, as if she had learned something from Dr. Hernandez. She taught me, Sarah told me. In those 3 minutes, she imparted all her knowledge and experience to me. And I believed it because since then, Sarah has performed the most difficult endoscopies I've ever seen. She saved many children's lives. She became the best nurse I've ever worked with. I retired in June 2022. Sarah saw me off at the farewell party. "Nancy," she said, "thank you for believing me. Thank you for not thinking I was crazy." "You're not crazy," I said. "You were chosen. Dr. Hernandez chose you to continue her work, and one day, when I'm old, I'll also choose someone else. That's good." I wrote this letter because I want everyone to know that miracles happen every day in hospitals. There are those who have passed but continue to help others, and there are those who are alive and willing to accept that responsibility. Sarah is still working at Los Angeles Children's Hospital. She still saves children's lives every day, and I believe that Dr. Hernandez is still proud of her. That was Nancy Wilson's letter, a story of dedication, of sacrifice, and of how love can cross the boundary between life and death. I tried to contact Sarah Martinez to confirm this story, but according to hospital policy, they could not share personal information about staff. The only thing I know is that there is still a nurse named Sarah Martinez working in the endoscopy department of Los Angeles Children's Hospital, and perhaps that is enough. Perhaps we don't need to prove everything. Perhaps we just need to believe in the power of kindness, of dedication, and of love. Did Dr. Patricia Hernandez really appear to help the little patients? I don't know, but I know that there are people like Sarah Martinez who are willing to do anything to save children's lives. And that is the true miracle. Outside the window, the fog is still thick, but I feel the light of these stories warming my heart, the light of love and dedication. We will continue our journey tonight with another story, a story about mysterious writing appearing on an IV fluid bag. Stay with me, dear listeners. This is Morgan H., and the night is still long. This is Late Night Tales Radio, and I am Morgan H. We are in the depths of the night, a time when the boundary between reality and mystery blurs. We have just heard the story of Dr. Hernandez and Nurse Sarah Martinez, a story of dedication that transcends death. I notice an interesting thing. In the past 3 stories, all happened at hospitals. All involved people who were clinically dead. And all had one thing in common: the deceased did not appear to harm, but to help. But the next story I'm about to tell will be a little different. It's not about help, but about a plea for help, a message from the other side. A message written in blood on an IV fluid bag. This story came to me in a very special way. Not by email, not by phone, not by letter, but by a video. A video sent to my P.O. Box address along with a short letter. The letter read, "Dear Morgan, I am Michael Thompson, 37 years old, living in Seattle. I recorded what I experienced with my phone camera. I know it sounds unbelievable, but I have proof. Please watch and decide whether to share it." I watched that video, and I have to say that even with all I've heard, I still felt a shiver. Not out of fear, but because I knew that what I had just seen was real. Let me tell you Michael Thompson's story. Michael began filming from his hospital bed at Seattle Cancer Care Center. He was in a chemotherapy treatment room, one arm connected to an IV. The video quality wasn't great, but his face was clearly visible, a thin middle-aged man with deep-set, tired eyes. "Today is October 12, 2024, he said in a hoarse voice. "I'm at Seattle Cancer Care Center. This is my 8th chemotherapy session for late-stage lung cancer." The camera panned to the IV fluid bag hanging on the stand, a clear plastic bag containing a pale yellow fluid. "I don't know why I'm filming this," he continued. "Perhaps because I need someone to believe me, because what I'm about to say will sound very crazy." He paused for a moment, looking into the camera with tired eyes. "I died. 2 days ago, dead for 4 minutes and 15 seconds, and when I came back, I brought something with me, a message. He turned the camera back to the IV fluid bag. At this moment, the plastic bag looked completely normal. It's 2:30 p.m. now, he said. I'll let the camera run. If nothing happens, I'll delete this video. But if something does, I'll send it to someone. The video continued for 30 minutes. Michael sometimes talked to the camera, sometimes dozed off, nothing special happened. Until the 31st minute, a small red mark slowly appeared on the IV fluid bag, at first like a drop of blood. Then it spread, forming a straight line. "Oh my God," Michael whispered. "It's starting." The red mark continued to spread, not from inside the fluid bag outwards, but from the outside of the plastic bag, as if someone was writing in blood on the surface. Gradually, the red marks formed letters, slanted handwriting like a child's. "Please don't forget me, please don't forget me," Michael read aloud. "Someone is writing, please don't forget me," on the IV bag. The camera trembled in his hand. He called the nurse. "Sister, could you come here for a moment?" A young nurse rushed in. She looked at the IV bag. "What is it, Mr. Thompson? Do you see the writing on the IV bag?" The nurse looked closer. "What writing, sir?" "I only see a normal IV bag." "No way, it's right here, red writing. Please don't forget me. Mr. Thompson, perhaps you're tired. Would you like to rest?" "I'm not tired," he said loudly. "I see it clearly." The nurse looked at him with worried eyes. "Let me call the doctor." "No need, I'm fine. I just need a little time." After the nurse left, Michael turned back to the camera. "She doesn't see it, only I do." He looked at the IV bag. The red writing was still there, as clear as before. "Someone is trying to tell me, someone needs to be remembered." He stopped filming, and the video transitioned to the next segment, recorded that evening. "I did some research," he said. "I asked the nurses about the history of this room, and I found out who is trying to contact me." He held up a stack of papers printed from the internet. "Her name is Emma Rodriguez, 16 years old, suffering from leukemia. She passed away in this room 3 years ago. October 12, 2021, the same day as today." He turned the page. According to this article, Emma fought her illness for 2 years. She was the only daughter of an immigrant family from Mexico. The family was very poor. After she died, they had no money for a proper funeral. She was buried in a charity cemetery, with no headstone, no one to remember her. He looked into the camera. "I think Emma is trying to tell me she wants to be remembered. She wants someone to know that she existed." The video transitioned to the next segment. Michael was talking to the IV bag. "Are you Emma?" he asked. The red writing on the IV bag began to change. The old words faded, new ones appeared. "Yes," he read. "Can you hear me?" The writing changed again. "So lonely, I'm lonely," he repeated. "You feel lonely, no one else, no one remembers. You want someone to remember you." Michael wiped away tears. "You died on the same day as me, 3 years ago. You've been here for 3 years, waiting for someone to listen." New writing appeared. "I'm scared," he read. "What are you scared of? Scared of being forgotten? I won't forget you, I promise." For the first time, the new writing was not a plea. "Thank you," he read aloud. "You're thanking me." He sat still for a few minutes, looking at the IV bag. "Emma," he said, "I'll tell everyone about you. I'll make sure you're remembered." The last line appeared. "I love you," he read, and his voice trembled. "You love me?" he cried, not out of fear, but out of emotion. "I love you too, Emma. I will never forget you." Then the writing slowly faded. The IV fluid bag returned to normal, with no more red marks. The video ended with Michael looking into the camera one last time. "I don't know why Emma chose me. Perhaps because we both faced death, perhaps because we both understood loneliness. But I know that I have been given a responsibility. I must ensure that Emma Rodriguez is no longer forgotten." He stopped filming. Along with the video, Michael also sent some documents. Articles about Emma Rodriguez, hospital records confirming he was clinically dead for 4 minutes and 15 seconds, and a photo. The photo showed a new headstone, a black granite headstone with the inscription, "Emma Rodriguez 2005-2021, an angel who will never be forgot." In his letter, Michael wrote, "I used my savings to make a headstone for Emma. I don't know how long I'll live. My illness is getting worse. But I want to make sure that before I go, Emma will have a place where people can visit, can remember her." I called Seattle Cancer Care Center to ask about Michael. The person who answered couldn't share specific information, but confirmed that a patient named Michael Thompson was undergoing treatment there. His current condition was stable. I also researched Emma Rodriguez. All the information Michael shared was accurate. a 16-year-old girl, daughter of an immigrant family, who died of leukemia. And indeed, there was a new headstone at the charity cemetery on the outskirts of Seattle. The most touching thing was when I visited Emma's grave. On the headstone, next to her name, there was a small bouquet of white roses, still fresh, and a small letter written in Spanish. I asked a friend to translate the letter. "Dearest Emma, thank you for helping my son remember what is important in life. My son told me that you taught him that love can conquer death. I promise that we will never forget you." The letter was signed Maria Thompson, Michael's mother. I felt my heart warm. Not only Michael remembered Emma, his entire family had accepted her as part of them. Sometimes death is not the end. Sometimes it is the beginning of a new connection, a bond between understanding hearts, even if they may have never met in reality. Emma Rodriguez found what she needed, not life, but remembrance, love, the assurance that she existed, that she mattered, that she was loved. And Michael Thompson found what he needed, not health, but purpose, meaning a reason to keep fighting. Do you believe that the deceased can communicate with us? I do. Not because I see miraculous proof, but because I see love, I see connection, I see meaning. Emma and Michael, two people who never met in life but found each other in the moments between life and death. And from that, they created something beautiful, a friendship that transcends the boundaries of time. We will continue with the fifth story after a short break. A story about icy staircases and cries from the morgue refrigerator. Don't go anywhere. This is Morgan H., and I know that love never dies. Late Night Tales Radio continues with Morgan H. We are in the deepest part of the night, when the whole world seems to fall asleep. Only people like us, who stay awake to listen, to ponder, to connect with each other through inexplicable stories. I just made a fresh cup of coffee. The rich aroma of coffee blends with the cold air of the night forest. Outside, the wind blowing through the branches sounds like the whispers of countless ghosts. But I'm not scared. After years of doing this show, I've learned that most of those spirits carry a story that needs to be told. Tonight's fifth story came to me in a rather unusual way. Not by letter, not by email, not by video, but through a direct encounter. Last Tuesday, I went down to town to get supplies. While waiting to pay at the grocery store, I heard someone call my name. "Mr. Morgan H., isn't it?" I turned around and saw a middle-aged woman looking at me. She seemed familiar, but I couldn't remember where I had met her. "Yes, I'm Morgan H.," I replied. "I'm Janet Patterson," she said, Emily Foster's older sister. I immediately remembered Emily Foster's name in the list of stories I had received, an emergency nurse who had experienced clinical death in Chicago. "I listened to your show," Janet said. "Emily told me about her experience. She wanted to share, but she didn't dare. She was afraid people would think she was crazy. Can you tell Emily's story for her?" I asked. "Yes, but not here. We need a quiet place." We sat in my car in the grocery store parking lot. Janet said that Emily was currently on extended leave from the hospital. She was under severe stress after the incident and was undergoing psychological treatment. "But I know my sister," Janet said. "Emily isn't the imaginative type. She's one of the best nurses I know. If she says she saw something, I believe her." And this is the story Janet recounted from Emily Foster's words. Emily had been an emergency nurse for 8 years. She specialized in aquatic rescue, saving people from drowning or accidents on lakes and rivers. It was dangerous work, but Emily always said she was born to do this. The incident happened on the 15th of last month. There was a boat accident on Lake Michigan. A family was traveling when their boat capsized. Parents and 2 children, an 8-year-old boy, a 6-year-old girl. Emily was the first to arrive at the scene. She dived into the cold water to search. She rescued the father, mother, and the boy, but the girl was missing. "I have to find her," Emily told the rescue team. "I can't leave her alone down there." The water temperature was only 8 deg C. Emily dived for 40 minutes. She found the girl, but it was too late. The girl had died. While bringing the girl's body ashore, Emily suddenly collapsed. She suffered severe hypothermia, her heart stopped beating. She also died. The rescue team took Emily to Chicago West Medical Center. She was rushed straight to the emergency room. Doctors tried their best, but Emily was dead for 6 minutes. And in those 6 minutes, Emily experienced a journey she would never forget. "I found myself standing in a long hallway," Emily recounted, "white walls, flickering fluorescent lights. I knew where I was in the hospital morgue. I wasn't scared. I was used to morgues. I had been down there many times to identify victims. But this time was different. This time, I was a part of it. I started walking down the stairs, cold metal steps. Each step I took left a wet mark, but not an ordinary wet mark, but a mark like blood. I looked down at my feet. I was bleeding from my mouth, from my nose, from my ears. Blood dripped down the steps, forming a small red stream, but I kept going down. I don't know why, I just knew that I had to go down there. At the bottom of the stairs was a heavy door, a door that read, cold storage room. I pushed the door open. Inside was a large room full of stainless steel refrigerators for preserving bodies. I counted 20 units all closed. The room was very cold. My breath formed white vapor. I shivered, but not from the cold, but because I felt someone watching me. I looked around, saw no one, only the refrigerators, but the feeling of being watched didn't disappear. Then I heard a sound, the clanging of metal, a sound coming from one of the refrigerators. I approached refrigerator number 7. The sound came from inside. Someone was banging on the door from the inside out. I knew I shouldn't open it, but I'm a nurse. If someone needs help, I can't ignore it. I opened the refrigerator, and inside was a little girl. The little girl I had rescued from Lake Michigan. She was dead, but her eyes were still open, looking straight at me. She said, "You saved me. Why did you leave me alone here?" I didn't know what to say. I just knew that I had failed. I hadn't saved her. "I'm sorry," I said. "I tried my best." "You died for me," the little girl said. "You died trying to save me. That's your job. You were willing to die to save me." The little girl smiled a sad smile. "But now you can't save anyone else. If you die, who will save others?" I had never thought of that. I only thought of saving the little girl. I didn't think of the others I could save in the future. "I want you to live," the little girl said. "I want you to come back. I want you to continue saving others." "But I failed you." "No, you showed me that someone cared about me. You showed me that my life was valuable. That's the most important thing." The little girl sat up in the refrigerator. I saw her wearing a pink dress. The dress she wore when she traveled with her family. "You should go home," the little girl said. "You should live, you should save many others. What about me?" "I'll stay here. I'll wait for others, people like me, people who need someone to tell them that they matter." I understood the little girl would become a part of this morgue. She would help other souls of those who died suddenly, unprepared. "Thank you," I said. "No, thank you, you showed me that I was never truly alone." I bent down and hugged the little girl. She was very cold, but I felt warm. I felt love. Then I turned and walked out of the cold room. I went up the stairs. The bloody footprints were still there, but now they were no longer scary. They were signs of sacrifice, of love. I went to the exit door, and I saw a light, a dazzling light, the light of the emergency room. I heard machines beeping, doctors saying, "She's coming back, her heart rate is back." I opened my eyes. I was lying on a hospital bed. Doctors were bending over me. "Welcome back," a doctor said. I wanted to say, "I met the little girl, I talked to her," but I knew they wouldn't believe me. In the following days, I couldn't sleep. I kept dreaming of the little girl, I kept dreaming of the morgue, I kept dreaming of the bloody footprints on the stairs. I went back to the hospital morgue. I went down the stairs. They were normal stairs, metal, cold, with no bloody footprints. But when I reached the 3rd step from the bottom, I felt an unusual cold, a cold from my bones. And I heard a whisper, "Thank you, big sister." I knew it was the little girl. She was still there. Not because she couldn't leave, but because she chose to stay to help others. I couldn't continue working. Every time I tried to save someone, I remembered the little girl. I remembered that I had failed. The doctor said I had PTSD. They gave me leave. They told me I needed time to recover, but I knew that I would never fully recover. I would always remember the little girl. I would always remember what she said. "I want you to live." And I will live. I will find other ways to help people. Maybe not rescue anymore, but I will find a way. Janet paused, looking at me with red-rimmed eyes. "That's Emily's story," she said. "She wants everyone to know that the little girl didn't die in vain. She saved Emily. She showed Emily that life is precious." "How is Emily doing now?" I asked. "She's studying psychology," Janet smiled. "She wants to become a psychologist to help others going through trauma. She says that's how she can continue saving people." "Does she still feel the little girl's presence?" "Yes," Janet nodded. "Whenever Emily feels like giving up, she hears a whisper, 'I want you to live.' And that gives her the strength to continue." I sat silently in the car, contemplating the story. A little girl who died but saved a woman's life, not just physically, but spiritually. "Thank you for sharing," I told Janet. "I will tell this story with the utmost respect." Emily will be very happy to know, Janet smiled. She always listens to your show. She says your stories help her feel less alone. After Janet left, I sat alone in the car for a long time. I thought about Emily Foster, about the nameless little girl, about the bloody footprints on the morgue stairs. And I thought about the question the little girl asked Emily: if you die, who will save others? That is a question we should all ask ourselves. If we give up, who will do the good things we can do? Who will love the people we can love? Who will help the people we can help? The little girl died, but she left a valuable lesson. Our lives are valuable, not just to us, but to all the people we can touch. Emily Foster understood that. She chose to live. She chose to continue helping others, albeit in a different way. And the nameless little girl. She chose to stay in the cold morgue to help other souls, to tell them that they matter, that they are loved. I don't know the little girl's name, but I know she is a hero. A young hero who sacrificed her life to save her family, and even after death she continued to save others. She deserves to be remembered. She deserves a name, and from today I will call her Hope. Because that's what she gave Emily, and that's what she gave all of us. Hope, the little girl in the pink dress, waiting in the cold morgue, waiting to help other souls, waiting to tell them that they are loved. We will take a short break here. When we return, we will hear a story about a ghostly brass band in the operating room. Please stay with us. And if anyone is listening and feeling like giving up, remember Hope's words. I want you to live. Live, love, help, because your life is valuable. This is Morgan H., and I believe in the power of hope. Welcome back to Late Night Tales Radio. I'm Morgan H., accompanying you through the deepest hours of the night. We've journeyed through 5 stories of people who experienced clinical death and their inexplicable encounters. I find myself feeling a special connection to these stories, perhaps because I, too, once stood on the precipice between life and death. I've never told anyone about it, but perhaps one day I will share my own story. Outside, the sky is still pitch black like ink. The fog has partially lifted, but the air is still bitterly cold. I can hear an owl hooting somewhere in the forest, a mournful, lonely, yet beautiful sound. Tonight's 6th story came to me in a completely unexpected way, a voicemail message on my old answering machine, the old-fashioned pager that I still use because it can work even when phones and the internet are down. The message was left at 3:45 a.m. last Monday. The voice was that of a middle-aged man with a slight Korean accent. He introduced himself as David Kim, 34, living in Houston, Texas. Dear Morgan H., he said, and I could hear the tremor in his voice. I don't know if I should call. I've listened to your show many times. I know you'll listen to strange stories, and I have a very strange story. He paused for a moment, as if contemplating whether to continue. I died on the operating table for 5 minutes. And in those 5 minutes, I heard a piece of music I'll never forget. A piece of music from the past, from an era I never lived in. He left his phone number and said he would await my call at any time. I called David that very afternoon. He told me a story that I had to record because it was so complex and detailed. With his permission, I will replay that recording for you to hear. But first, let me tell you about David Kim. He is a software engineer working for a large tech company in Houston. He lives alone, unmarried. He said he had always been busy with work, with no time to learn about his family or his history. That was a mistake, he said. Because some things from the past will find us, whether we want them to or not. This is David Kim's story. It started on October 3rd. I was working at the office as usual. Suddenly, I felt a severe abdominal pain, not ordinary stomach pain, but a pain as if someone was twisting my intestines. I drove myself to Houston Methodist Hospital. The doctor examined me and said I had acute appendicitis, requiring immediate surgery. It's a simple surgery, the doctor said. You'll be fine. I believed them. I wasn't scared. I just wanted the pain to stop. The surgery started at 8:00 p.m. I remember clearly because I looked at the clock before being taken into the operating room. The operating room was very bright, entirely filled with dazzling white light, a strong smell of disinfectant, and the steady beeping of machines. We're going to anesthetize you, the nurse said. Count from 10 down to 1. I started counting. 10, 9, 8, 7. I don't remember 6. The next thing I knew, I was lying on the operating table, but I no longer felt pain. I felt nothing at all. I felt light, as if I was floating in the air. I looked down and saw my body lying motionless on the operating table. The doctors were trying to do something with my heart. I heard the machines blaring alarms. "We're losing the patient," a doctor shouted. I understood that I had died, but I wasn't scared. I was just curious. I wanted to know what would happen next. Then I heard music. At first, I thought it was music from a radio in the room, but it wasn't. The music came from somewhere else, somewhere distant. It was the sound of a brass instrument, a type of horn I had never heard before. Not a trumpet or saxophone, but an ancient horn with a melancholic and beautiful sound. The melody was very familiar, but I couldn't remember where I had heard it. It was like a lullaby, an old love song. But there was also something very sad in it, as if the horn player was crying. I turned to look for the source of the sound, and I saw her. A woman standing in the corner of the operating room. She was wearing a white blouse and a dark blue long skirt, the style of clothing from the 1950s. Her hair was neatly tied back with a small white cap. She was holding a small, strangely shaped horn, and she was playing a melody I would never forget. I looked closer. She had an Asian face, probably Korean like me, but she looked very old, like a black and white photograph. She looked at me and smiled, a sad, emotional smile. "You can see me," she said in Korean. I understood, even though I'm not fluent in Korean. "Who are you?" I asked, also in Korean. "I am Yunga. I've worked here for a very long time." "Worked here? Are you a doctor?" "I'm a nurse. I was a nurse here from 1952 to 1968. I quickly calculated. 1968 was 56 years ago. If she were still alive, she would be very old. "Are you still working here?" I asked. "In a way, yes, I still care for patients like you. I died, didn't I? Temporarily. But you can choose, you can come with me or you can go back." "What should I choose?" Yunga stopped playing the horn. She looked at me with a quiet gaze. "That's up to you. Do you have anything unfinished?" I thought about my life, my job, my empty apartment, no family, no girlfriend, no one who would remember me if I died. "I don't know," I answered honestly. Yunga nodded understandingly. "When I was your age, I didn't know either. I only knew how to work. I only knew how to care for patients. I didn't have time to live. So do you regret it?" "Yes, but I'm also proud. I saved many lives. I made the world a little better." She started playing the horn again. The melody this time was different. No longer sad, but something full of hope. "What's this song called?" I asked. "This is the song my mother sang to me when I was a child in our hometown in Korea before I came to America." "What does it mean?" "It's about finding your way home, not the home where you were born, but the home in your heart." I listened to the melody and felt something change within me. I felt warm. I felt loved. "Have you found your way home?" Yunga asked. "I don't know. I don't even know what I'm looking for." "Perhaps you're looking for connection with others, with your past, with yourself." She was right. I had always felt lonely, not just because I lived alone, but because I didn't know where I belonged. "Where are your parents?" Yunga asked. "They passed away when I was young. I was raised by an American family. Do you know anything about your birth family?" "Very little. I only know they were from Seoul. They came to the US in 1985. My parents died in a car accident when I was 5. Yunga stopped playing the horn. She looked at me with deeply moved eyes. "What were their names?" "Kim Sang-woo and Park Myung." Yunga placed her hand on her chest as if trying to control her emotions. "I know them." "You know my parents?" "I know about your family. I cared for your grandmother when she gave birth to your father in 1965 at this hospital." I felt as if someone had just punched me in the stomach. Unbelievable. My grandmother, Kim Myung-ra? That's right. She gave birth to your father, Kim Sang-woo, in 1965. I cared for her and I sang to your baby father when he cried. "How did you die?" "An accident. I was driving home after a night shift. A truck hit my car. I died instantly." "So why didn't you leave? Why did you stay?" "Because I made a promise. I promised to care for patients. I promised never to abandon them." Yunga started playing the horn again. This time I heard the lyrics within the melody. "It's the song I sang to you when you were just born," she said. "You cried a lot, wouldn't sleep. Your mother was very worried and she sang to me. I sang and played the horn. You stopped crying. You slept in your mother's arms." I felt tears streaming down. I don't know why I was crying. Perhaps because I had finally found a piece of my past. "Did my mother say anything?" I asked. "She said she hoped you would grow up happy. She hoped you would find your way home. But I haven't found it. I've been lonely for 34 years. "You're not lonely, you just forgot how to listen." "Listen to what?" "The music, the songs of those who loved you, the songs of your ancestors, the songs of your homeland." Yunga played a new melody. This time I heard many other instruments, as if an invisible band was playing. "Who's playing the music?" I asked. "The other nurses, the other doctors. We are all dead, but we are still here. We still care for patients." I looked around the operating room and I saw them, faint, hazy ghosts, an old man in a white lab coat, a young woman with a nurse's cap. All of them were playing music. Why can I see them? I asked. Because you are standing at the threshold between this world and the other. You can choose to come with us or you can go back. What if I go with you? You will find peace, you will no longer be lonely, you will have a purpose caring for others. And if I go back, you will have to continue living with all the pain, loneliness, and difficulties. But you will also have a chance. A chance to find love, a chance to create a family, a chance to find your way home. I thought about my life, then I thought about what I could have. I thought about the people I could love, the people I could help. I want to go back, I said. I want to tell your story. We will help you, Junge said. We will push you back. They all placed their hands on the glass, and I felt a strong force pushing me out of the CT machine. Remember us, they said, tell our story. I woke up, truly woke up. I was lying on the operating table. Doctors and nurses were bending over me. You're back, a doctor said. We lost you for 5 minutes. You've had a long journey. I met Junge, I said. Nurse Junge, she used to work here. The doctor looked at me with a strange expression. I don't know any nurse named Junge. Perhaps you were delirious from lack of oxygen. But I knew it wasn't delirium. I had met her. I had heard her play the horn. In the following days, I researched the hospital's history. I found the records of Junge Park. She worked at Houston Methodist from 1952 to 1968. She died in a car accident on October 15, 1968, exactly 56 years before my surgery. I also found my birth record. Indeed, I was born at Houston Methodist in 1990, and the night shift nurse listed was Junge Park. But how could that be? She died 22 years before I was born. I met with the hospital's records manager. She reviewed the records and raised an eyebrow. This is an error, she said. J.A. Park died in 1968. There's no way she could have worked in 1990. So who cared for me? Well, perhaps another nurse. Perhaps someone wrote the wrong name. But I knew it wasn't a mistake. Junge had truly cared for me. She had sung to me. She had helped me sleep, and she was still caring for me. Since the day of the surgery, I have started to change my life. I have researched my birth family. I have learned Korean. I have cooked Korean dishes. I have also started volunteering at the hospital, caring for lonely patients. People like me, lonely and scared. And sometimes, late at night at the hospital, I hear music Junge's horn. She's still playing, still caring, still helping those who need help. I haven't found love, I don't have a family yet, but I'm no longer lonely. Because I know that there are people who loved me from the past, from the present, and perhaps from the future. I'm still looking for my way home, but now I know that home is not a place, but a feeling. The feeling of being loved, the feeling of belonging to someone. And whenever I feel lost, I just need to listen. I will hear Junge's horn, my mother's song, the call of my homeland. I called Morgan because I want everyone to know that we are never truly alone. There are people who loved us even when we didn't know it. There are people who are still caring for us even after they have died. And if anyone is listening and feeling lonely, listen. Listen to the music, listen to the song of love. It's always there. We just need to know how to listen. That was David Kim's story. When he finished, we were silent for a long moment. I could hear his breathing over the phone, and I swear I heard something else too. A very faint melody like a distant horn. David, I said, do you still hear Junge's horn? Every day, he replied, especially when I volunteer at the hospital, she's still playing, still caring. Have you found your way home? I'm on my way, he smiled. I found a Korean girl. She also works at the hospital. We're getting to know each other. That's great news. And you know what? She also hears the music. She says her family has a musical tradition. Maybe we'll create a musical family. I felt warm hearing that. David Kim was finding his way home, not the home where he was born, but the home in his heart. Junge Park died 56 years ago, but she was still keeping her promise, still caring for patients, still helping lonely people find their way home. Perhaps that's the most beautiful thing about love. It never dies. It transcends time, transcends space, transcends even death. It's always there, waiting for us to listen. Do you hear the music in your life? The music of love, of care from those who loved you. It's always there. We just need to know how to listen. We will continue with the 7th story after a short break. A story about whispers from under the oxygen tank. Please stay with us. This is Morgan H., and I believe that love can create the most beautiful melodies. Welcome back to Late Night Tales Radio. I'm Morgan H., and we're in the final hours of the night. The eastern sky has started to show a faint glow, signaling the approaching dawn. But the night isn't over. We still have stories to tell. We just heard about David Kim and Nurse Yoonga Park, a story about music transcending time. I received quite a few responses from listeners about that story. It seems many people have also heard mysterious music in their lives. Tonight's seventh story came to me in a very unexpected way. About 2 hours ago, I heard a sound outside the cabin. I went to check and saw an old bicycle parked next to the steps. On the bike was a small bag with my name written in black marker. Inside the bag was an old cassette player and a personal tape. Along with it was a short handwritten letter. Dear Morgan H., I have listened to your show many times. I know you will understand my story. I recorded it on this tape. Please play it for everyone. I can no longer tell it in words. Thank you. No address, no phone number, just a signature, Lisa Rodriguez, Philadelphia, PA. I listened to that cassette tape, and I have to say it was one of the most chilling experiences I've ever heard. Not because of horror, but because of the honesty, the pain, and the hope intertwined in the voice of a young woman. With the implicit consent Lisa gave, I will play that recording for you to hear. But first, I want to warn you that this story might be unsettling for some. It involves war trauma and PTSD. This is the voice of Lisa Rodriguez. The old cassette tape sound has a bit of static. Hello, I'm Lisa Rodriguez. I'm 28 years old, a veteran. I served in the U.S. Air Force for 6 years, 2 tours in Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan. I don't know where to start. Maybe from the night I died, the night of the 28th of last month at the Philadelphia VA Medical Center. I've had lung problems since returning from Afghanistan. They said it was due to inhaling dust and smoke from attacks. I coughed constantly, sometimes coughing up blood. Breathing was very difficult. That night, I couldn't breathe. I called 911. They took me to the VA hospital. The doctor said I had acute respiratory failure. They had to put me on a ventilator. I remember the ventilator beeping steadily, like a clock. And I remember the feeling of fear. Not fear of dying, but fear of living. Fear of continuing with nightmares, with unforgettable images. Then I heard an alarm, the ventilator stopped working. I stopped breathing, my heart stopped beating. We're losing her, I heard a doctor shout, but I wasn't scared. I felt relieved. I would finally get to rest. I saw myself lying in a hospital room, but not the room I was being treated in. This was an older room. Iron bed, green-painted walls, windows with bars. I sat up. I saw myself wearing a military uniform, but not my uniform. This was an old uniform from the Vietnam War era. Are you feeling all right? A voice asked. I turned around. A man was sitting on the bed next to me. He was also wearing a military uniform, an old uniform similar to mine. Who are you? I asked. I'm Jimmy Walker, Staff Sergeant, 1st Infantry Division. I died here in 1971. Died here in this VA hospital, this room. I was wounded in Vietnam, Agent Orange, lung cancer. I fought the disease for 2 years, then I died alone, no one by my side. I looked around the room, I saw others, all wearing military uniforms, all with tired, sick faces. Who are they? I asked. Veterans, we all died here. Some from war wounds, some from PTSD, some from suicide. I felt a chill. I also died. Not yet, Jimmy said. You're in between. You can choose to come with us or you can go back. What if I go with you? You will find peace, no more nightmares, no more pain, no more horrible images. It sounded appealing. I was tired of living with PTSD, tired of nightly nightmares, tired of not being able to sleep. But Jimmy continued, if you come with us, you won't be able to help anyone anymore. You won't be able to tell the world about what we've been through. I didn't understand. Look under your bed. I looked down. Under the bed was an oxygen tank, a small, old tank, but it was making a sound. Not the hiss of oxygen, but whispers. Help me, I heard. Please help me. What is that? I asked. That's the voice of those who are still alive, veterans fighting PTSD. Those who are thinking about suicide, those who need help. I bent down to listen more closely. I heard many different voices. I can't sleep. I keep seeing dead bodies. I want to die. No one understands me. I'm so lonely. I felt tears streaming down. I knew those feelings. I had experienced them all. Why do I hear them? I asked Jimmy. Because you've been through what they're going through. You understand them. You can help them. But I don't know how to help. I can't even help myself. Wrong. You've learned to cope. You've survived. You're stronger than you think. I thought about my life. I had gone through dark moments. I had thought about suicide, but I hadn't done it. I had fought. I had survived. If I go back, what will I have to do? I asked. Tell your story, let people know that they are not alone, help other veterans find help. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a doctor. You don't have to be, you just need to be someone who has been through it, someone who understands, someone who survived. I listened to the oxygen tank again. The whispers continued. I lost my friend to suicide last week. I can't go outside, I'm scared of loud noises. My wife left me, she said she couldn't take it anymore. I knew what I had to do. I'm going back, I told Jimmy. I knew you'd choose that. What about you all? We'll stay here, we'll wait, we'll be here for others who need us. But now we have you, we have someone on the other side to speak for us. I'll tell your stories. I'll make sure you're not forgot. Thank you, Rodriguez. I felt myself being pulled out of the room. But before I went, I heard Jimmy say one last thing. Remember, Rodriguez, you are not alone. We are always here, and there are many living people who need you. I woke up in the ICU, a breathing tube in my mouth. Machines around me beeped continuously. Doctors and nurses were bending over me. She's back, a doctor said. You stopped breathing for 4 minutes, we almost lost you. I couldn't speak because of the breathing tube, but I looked down under the bed. There was an oxygen tank there, and I heard whispers. Can you hear us? A voice asked. I nodded slightly. We're here, we need you. In the following days, I recovered quickly. The doctor said it was a miracle, but I knew it wasn't a miracle, it was a purpose. I had a job to do. After being discharged, I started joining veteran support groups. I told my story. I told them that they were not alone. I told them that there were people who understood them. I met a veteran named Carlos. He also had PTSD. He was about to commit suicide. But after hearing my story, he decided to seek help. Someone died so I could live, he said. I can't waste that opportunity. I met a female veteran named Sarah. She also had nightmares. She also felt lonely. But when I told her about Jimmy and the others, she cried. I thought it was just me, she said. I didn't know so many others had gone through what I'm going through. I created a website. I called it Voices from the Oxygen Tank. I share the stories of veterans. I provide information about support services. I create a community. Every night before bed, I listen. I hear whispers from the oxygen tank, but now it's not just pleas for help, but also laughter, conversation, the voices of those who have found help. Thank you, Rodriguez, I hear Jimmy say. You did well. We're proud of you. Other voices say, I still have PTSD, I still have nightmares, but I'm not lonely anymore. I have a purpose, I have a family of those who have been through it. I recorded this story because I want everyone to know that there are people who died so we could live, and we have a responsibility to live well. We have a responsibility to help others. If anyone is listening and struggling with PTSD, with depression, with suicidal thoughts, please know that you are not alone. There are people who understand you. There are support services, there are communities ready to help. Call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 988. Contact the VA if you are a veteran. Seek professional help. Connect with others who have been through it, and remember Lisa's words. Live for those who could not live. Live for those who need you. Live for yourself. Thank you, Morgan H., for listening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell this story. I hope it will help someone. This is Lisa Rodriguez, veteran, survivor, and companion to all who are fighting the darkness in their souls. Live, love, help, good night. The cassette tape ended. That was Lisa Rodriguez's story. I have to say that after listening, I sat silently in the studio for a long time. Not because I was shocked, but because I felt deeply inspired. Lisa Rodriguez went through what many of our veterans are experiencing: PTSD, depression, suicidal thoughts. But she found purpose in pain. She turned trauma into strength. I looked into the website Lisa created. Voices from the Oxygen Tank really exists. It's a valuable resource for veterans who need help. Thousands of stories are shared there. Thousands of people have found help. I also tried to contact Lisa. I called the Philadelphia VA Medical Center. They confirmed that a veteran named Lisa Rodriguez had been treated there, but they couldn't share further information. I did find a short article on the hospital's website. It spoke of a veteran support group created by patients themselves. The group leader was a female veteran named Lisa R. The article praised her dedication and courage in helping other veterans. I believe that is our Lisa Rodriguez, the woman who died for 4 minutes and returned with a mission to help others find light in the darkness. Jimmy Walker and the other veterans in the ghostly hospital room, did they really exist? I don't know. but I know that thousands of veterans have died from war trauma and PTSD. They deserve to be remembered. They deserve to have someone speak for them. And Lisa Rodriguez became that voice. If anyone is listening to this show and struggling with PTSD, with depression, with suicidal thoughts, please know that you are not alone. There are people who understand you, there are support services, there are communities ready to help. Call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 988. Contact the VA if you are a veteran. Seek professional help. Connect with others who have been through it, and remember Lisa's words. Live for those who could not live. Live for those who need you. Live for yourself. Can I hear the oxygen tank? I don't know, but I know that there are whispers around us. Whispers of those who need help. Whispers of those who love us. Whispers of life itself. Listen, care, help. We will continue with the 8th story after a short break. A story about red eyes in the CT room glass. Please stay with us, and if you need help, don't hesitate, contact someone immediately. Your life is valuable, you are loved. This is Morgan H., and I believe that each of us can become a voice for those who cannot speak. Welcome back to Late Night Tales Radio. I'm Morgan H. We've journeyed together through 7 stories of people who experienced clinical death and their inexplicable encounters. The last one was Lisa Rodriguez's deeply moving story about veterans fighting PTSD. I have to tell you that the next story came to me in a completely unexpected way. Not through email, handwritten letter, or cassette tape, but through a direct encounter right here in this studio. About 20 minutes ago, I was preparing for the next segment when I heard a gentle knock on the door. Very faint, as if the knocker didn't want to disturb but desperately needed to see me. I opened the door and saw a young man about 30 years old wearing a hoodie and jeans. He looked tired, as if he had traveled a long distance to get here. In his hand, he carried a small bag. "Sorry to bother you," he said in a slightly hoarse voice. "I'm Robert Davis. I drove all the way from San Francisco to meet you." "From San Francisco?" I was surprised. "That's a very long trip." "I know, but I need to tell my story. I listened to your show tonight. I know you'll understand." I invited him into the studio. He sat on the guest chair, placing his bag beside him. I could see he was anxious but also determined. "I died," he said directly. 2 weeks ago at San Francisco Trauma Center, I saw things I can't forget. Would you like to tell it on air?" I asked. "Yes, but I have one condition. I want you to see something first." He opened his bag and pulled out an old laptop. "I have a video. I want you to watch it." I agreed. We watched the video together, and I have to say it was one of the strangest things I've ever seen. With Robert's permission, I will tell his story along with what we saw in that video. This is Robert Davis's story. "I work as a construction worker in San Francisco. It's a dangerous job, but I'm used to it. I've worked on high-rise buildings for 8 years without any serious accidents. On the 30th of last month, I was working at a construction site in Union Square. I was on the 15th floor, installing glass panels. It was drizzling, so the surfaces were a bit slippery. I don't know exactly what happened. Maybe I slipped, maybe my safety harness came undone. The last thing I remember was the feeling of falling from the 15th floor to the ground. I woke up at San Francisco Trauma Center, or at least I thought I woke up. Doctors said I had a severe head injury. I was in a coma for 3 days. They needed to do a CT scan to check the condition of my brain. I remember being wheeled into the CT room. The room was pure white with a large CT machine in the middle, looking like a giant donut. "I just need you to lie still," the doctor said. "The machine will take pictures of your brain. The process will take about 20 minutes. The doctor said, "You just need not to move." I lay on the sliding table, slowly being moved into the CT machine. The machine sound was very loud, a continuous whirring. I looked up at the ceiling, trying not to think about what might happen. Then I saw it, through the observation glass of the control room, a pair of eyes looking at me. At first, I thought it was a doctor or a technician, but these eyes were different. They were red, not red from fatigue, but blood red. I tried to look closer. It was a man's face, a very pale face, almost white, but the eyes were glowing red. I wanted to tell the doctor, but I couldn't move. I couldn't speak, I could only look. The man was also looking at me. His eyes didn't blink, just stared, and I felt cold to the bone. Then I realized something. I couldn't hear the CT machine anymore. Everything was silent, absolute stillness. "Can you hear me?" a voice echoed in my head. I looked towards the glass. The man was still there. His lips didn't move, but I heard his voice. "I've been waiting for you," he said. "I've been waiting for someone like you." Who are you? I asked in my mind. I'm Marcus Wheeler. I died here 5 years ago on this very CT machine. I felt my heart pound, but then I realized something else. My heart wasn't pounding. I couldn't feel my heartbeat. I couldn't feel my breath. Am I dead? I asked. Temporarily, Marcus said. Your heart stopped during the CT scan. The doctors are trying to save you, but you might not come back. Why? Because you saw me. You entered this place, a place where the clinically dead can see. I looked around. I was still in the CT machine, but the room was different, no longer pristine white. The walls were grayish blue, the light dimmer, and there were many other people. I saw them through the glass. Men, women, even children, all with red eyes like Marcus, all staring at me. Who are they? I asked. People who died during CT scans. All of us died here in this room on this machine. Why aren't you leaving? We can't. We're trapped between life and death. We need someone to help us. Help how? Marcus came closer to the glass. His red eyes looked sad. We died suddenly, with no time to say goodbye, no time to say the things we wanted to say. So what do you want? We want someone to tell our stories, someone to speak for us the words we couldn't say. I looked at the others through the glass. A young woman raised her hand as if trying to reach me. An old man nodded at me. A child was crying. Why did you choose me? I asked. Because you were close to death, you saw us, you can be a bridge. But I don't know your stories. We'll tell you, we'll show you. Marcus placed his hand on the glass, and suddenly I saw images in my mind. I saw Marcus when he was alive. He was 45, an elementary school teacher. He had a wife and 2 children. He had been brought to the hospital for severe headaches. I had a brain tumor, Marcus said. I knew I was going to die, but I didn't get a chance to tell my wife and children that I loved them. I died right on the CT machine. I saw Marcus's wife. She was crying in the waiting room. 2 children, a boy and a girl, were hugging their mother. I want them to know that I wasn't in pain when I died, Marcus said. I want them to know that I thought of them until the very last moment. Then I saw others, a young woman named Linda. She was 28 and pregnant. She had been in a car accident. She died while undergoing a CT scan to check on the baby's condition. I want my husband to know that the baby is fine, Linda said. I want him to know that I tried to protect our child until the very end. I saw an old man named George. He was 72, retired. He died of a stroke while undergoing a CT scan. I have a safe at home, George said. In it are love letters I wrote to my wife over 50 years, but I never gave them to her. I want her to read those letters. I saw the child named Timmy. He was 10 years old, suffering from cancer. He died while undergoing a CT scan to check on his tumor. I want my parents to know that I'm not angry with them, Timmy said. I know they tried their best to save me. I love them very much. Story after story, each person a sorrow, each person an unspoken word. Will you help us? Marcus asked. I looked at all of them, their red eyes full of hope, their faces full of sadness. I will help, I said, but I need to go back. I need to live to tell your stories. We will help you, Marcus said. We will push you back. All of them placed their hands on the glass, and I felt a strong force pushing me out of the CT machine. Remember us, they said. Tell our stories. I woke up, truly woke up. I was lying on the CT table. Doctors and nurses were bending over me. You're back, the doctor said. Your heart stopped for 3 minutes. We thought we lost you. I looked towards the observation glass. No one was there, only the CT technician looking at me with a worried expression. Did you see anything strange? I asked the technician. Strange? He asked back. Was anyone else in the control room? No, just me. But I knew what I had seen. I knew Marcus, and the others were real. After being discharged, I researched information about people who had died in the CT room of San Francisco Trauma Center. I found Marcus Wheeler, a 45-year-old elementary school teacher who died of a brain tumor in 2019, just as he had said. I found Linda Patterson, 28, pregnant, who died in a car accident in 2020. I found George Hamilton, 72, retired, who died of a stroke in 2021. I found Timmy Chen, 10, who died of cancer in 2022. All of them were real. All of them had died in the CT room. I contacted their families. I told them the words their loved ones wanted to say. I met Marcus's wife. I told her that Marcus hadn't been in pain when he died. She cried, but they were tears of relief. I met Linda's husband. I told him that the baby was fine. He found comfort. I met George's wife. I told her about the safe. She found the love letters. She read them and smiled through her tears. I met Timmy's parents. I told them that their son wasn't angry with them. They could finally forgive themselves. And a strange thing happened. After I spoke to each family, I no longer saw those people. They were gone, they had found peace. Only Marcus remained. I still see him sometimes, not through the CT glass, but in mirrors, in windows, in reflections. Why are you still here? I asked him. Because there are many others, he said. Many more people will die here. They will need someone to help them. What do you want me to do? Tell this story. Let everyone know that we are still here. We still need help. And that's why I'm here. Why I drove from San Francisco to tell this story. Robert stopped speaking, looking at me with tired eyes. That's your story, I said. And the video you wanted me to see? Robert opened his laptop and played a video file. This is the CT room security camera. I managed to get a copy. Watch closely at 12:30. I looked at the screen. The video showed the CT room from the perspective of the security camera. I saw Robert lying on the CT table. I saw doctors and nurses rushing in when the alarm blared. But at 12:30, I saw something that made me look again. In the observation glass, there was a faint, very faint human shadow, almost imperceptible, but it was there. Do you see it? Robert asked. I see it, I whispered. There's a shadow, that's Marcus, and if you look closer, you'll see other shadows. I looked closer and I saw other faint shadows standing around the glass, as if they were looking into the CT room. They're still there, Robert said. Still waiting. I turned off the video and looked at Robert. What are you going to do now? I will continue. I will look for others who might need help. I will become a bridge between this world and the other. That's a huge responsibility. I know, but I can't refuse. I've seen them, I've heard their stories. I can't ignore them. Robert closed his laptop and stood up. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell this story. Thank you for sharing, I said. Where will you go now? Back to San Francisco. I have work to do. I have souls to help. I saw Robert to the door. Before he left, he turned back and said, if anyone hears this story and realizes they have unspoken words for loved ones, don't wait, say them today. Don't let them become one of those we have to help. I watched Robert drive away, disappearing into the early morning fog. I felt as if I had just met a very special person, someone who chose to use his near-death experience to help others. Marcus Wheeler and the people in the CT room, did they really exist? I saw the video, I saw the faint shadows. But more importantly, I saw how this story changed Robert's life and the families he helped. Perhaps that's the most important thing, not proving whether spirits exist or not, but how we live, how we treat each other, how we say words of love while we still can. How many times do we think, I'll tell them later? How many times do we postpone important words? How many times do we assume there will always be time? But Marcus Wheeler didn't have time, Linda Patterson didn't have time, George Hamilton didn't have time, Timothy Chen didn't have time. They had to rely on Robert Davis to speak the words they couldn't say. What about you? Do you have unspoken words? Are there people you love but have never told? Are there apologies that haven't been uttered? Are there thank yous that haven't been sent? Don't wait. Don't become one of those spirits who need someone else to speak for them. Say it today, love today, forgive today. We will continue with the 9th story after a short break. Handprints on blood bags and the mystery from the Denver Blood Bank. Please stay with us, and remember, the most important words shouldn't wait. Say them today. This is Morgan H., and I believe that love needs to be expressed in words and actions, not just kept in the heart. Welcome back to Late Night Tales Radio. I'm Morgan H. We're in the final minutes of this long night. The sky is completely bright now. The first rays of sun are shining through the studio window, but our story isn't over yet. Robert Davis just left the studio to return to San Francisco, carrying with him the mission to help trapped souls. I feel as if I've just witnessed a miracle. A man who chose to turn his trauma into a mission. It's nearly morning now. Under normal circumstances, I would end the show. But tonight, or rather this morning, I feel a certain force urging me to continue. There are other stories waiting to be told. The 9th story came to me in a very special way. About 30 minutes ago, as I was preparing for the next segment, I heard a truck stop outside. I looked out the window and saw a delivery person carrying a small box to the door. Urgent package for Mr. Morgan H., he said, sent from Denver, Colorado. I signed for it and opened the box. Inside was an empty blood bag, the clear plastic bags typically used for donated blood. Along with it was a letter and a USB drive. The letter read, Dear Morgan H., I am Jessica Williams, 26 years old, working at Denver Health Blood Bank. I know what I'm about to tell you may seem unbelievable, but I have proof. I have pictures, I have video. I was clinically dead 3 days before writing this letter. And during that time, I saw traces on the blood bags that no one else could see, traces of the people who donated blood. I have listened to your show many times. I know you will understand. Please watch the video file on the USB. Please tell this story. I can't call because I'm in the hospital. I can't send email because I don't want to leave an electronic trail, but I need someone to know. Thank you. Jessica Williams, Denver Health Blood Bank. I plugged the USB into my computer. Inside was a 15-minute video file. I watched it, and I have to say it was one of the most unsettling things I've ever seen. With Jessica's implicit permission, I will tell her story and share what I saw in that video. This is Jessica Williams' story. The video begins with Jessica sitting in a hospital room. She looks very pale, tired, with IV lines attached to her arm. "Hello," she says in a hoarse voice. "I'm Jessica Williams. Today is October 13, 2024. I'm at Denver Health Hospital. I was clinically dead 3 days ago, and I need to tell someone about what I saw." She pauses for a moment, takes a sip of water. "I've worked at Denver Health Blood Bank for 4 years. I'm responsible for checking and preserving donated blood. It's important work. Each blood bag can save a life. On October 10th, I was working the night shift. We had just received a large batch of donated blood from a blood drive at the local university. I was checking each blood bag, making sure they were properly stored. While working, I suddenly felt dizzy. I had skipped lunch, maybe that was why, but the dizziness got worse. My vision blurred. I found it hard to breathe. I tried to call a colleague but couldn't. I fell to the floor. The last thing I remember was seeing the blood bags hanging on the rack, and I saw traces on them." The video cuts to another segment. Jessica is holding an empty blood bag, similar to the one I just received. "This is a standard blood bag," she says. "Clear plastic, nothing special. But when I was clinically dead, when I was in a state between life and death, I could see traces on them. I was dead for 4 minutes and 30 seconds. My colleague found me and called emergency services. They performed CPR. But in those 4 minutes and 30 seconds, I saw things I will never forget." The video switches to footage inside the blood bank's cold room. Thousands of blood bags are hanging on racks. "This is where I work," Jessica says, "and this is where I died. When I woke up, I found myself still lying on the floor. But I could stand up. I could see my body lying motionless there. I looked around the room and I saw them. On each blood bag were traces of hands." The video zooms in on a specific blood bag. On the clear plastic surface are faint handprints. "At first, I thought they were staff fingerprints," Jessica continues. "But they weren't. These traces were different. They seemed to be made from inside the blood bag. I moved closer, and I saw more clearly. It wasn't just handprints, but traces of entire arms, as if someone was trying to escape from the blood bag." The video moves to another blood bag. The traces on this bag are clearer. The shape of a hand reaching out can be seen. I started walking around the cold room. Every blood bag had traces, some faint, some clear, but they all had one thing in common: they were created from within. Then I heard whispers, very faint, like wind blowing through leaves, but I knew it was human voices. The video records faint audio that sounds like whispers, but the words are unclear. I tried to listen, and I started to understand. "Help me," a voice whispered. "I'm still here," another voice said. "Don't forget me," a third voice. I realized that the whispers came from inside the blood bags, from the blood of the donors. Jessica in the video pauses, wiping away tears. "I know this sounds crazy, but I understand what's happening. Some blood donors died not long after donating, and a part of them is still in the blood. I started talking to them. 'I'm here,' I said. 'I can hear you.' The whispers became clearer. 'I'm David,' a voice said. 'I donated blood last week. I had a motorcycle accident on the way home. I died on the way to the hospital.' 'I'm Maria,' another voice. 'I donated blood to help my friend with cancer, but I had a stroke 3 days later.' 'I'm Robert,' a third voice. 'I donated my body to science when I died. I wanted my death to have meaning.' Story after story. Thousands of voices, thousands of people who donated a part of their body for scientific research. "What do you want?" I asked. "We want to know that our donations made a difference," David said. "We want to know that the research is progressing." "We want to be remembered," Maria said. "Not just as specimens, but as human beings. We want our families to know that we are still helping others," Robert said. "I understand. They wanted nothing more. They just wanted to know that their blood donation had meaning. I will check, I promised them, I will find out how your blood was used. Thank you, they said. Thank you for listening. Then I felt myself being pulled back. I heard alarms, shouts, I was being resuscitated. I woke up on the floor of the cold room. Colleagues were bending over me. Paramedics were checking my heart. Your heart stopped, a paramedic said. Luckily, we saved you. I looked up at the blood bags. I no longer saw the traces. I no longer heard the whispers, but I knew what I had experienced was real. The video cuts to Jessica sitting at a computer, looking up information. After being discharged, I started researching. I checked the records of recent blood donors and I found them. David Martinez, 34, donated blood on October 10th, died in a motorcycle accident on October 4th. Maria Rodriguez, 45, donated blood on an unspecified date in October, died of a stroke on October 8th. Robert Chen, 52, donated blood on October 7th, died of a heart attack on October 9th. All of them were real. All of them died not long after donating blood. I also checked how their blood was used. David's blood saved an 8-year-old boy who had a car accident. The boy recovered completely. Maria's blood saved a 30-year-old woman who had postpartum hemorrhage. She and her baby are both healthy. Robert's blood saved a 65-year-old man who needed heart surgery. He is out of critical condition. All of them saved a life. Their deaths all had meaning. The video transitions to Jessica writing letters. I wrote letters to their families. I told them that their loved one's blood donation saved a life. They cried, but they were tears of pride. I also contacted the recipients. I told them about the people who donated blood to save them. They were very moved. The mother of the boy, saved by David's blood, decided to organize a blood drive in David's honor. The woman saved by Maria's blood named her daughter Maria in remembrance. The old man saved by Robert's blood decided to donate blood regularly to continue Robert's legacy. And the miraculous thing is, after I did these things, I no longer saw the traces on the blood bags. I no longer heard the whispers. They were gone. They had found peace. Jessica in the video smiles for the first time. I know this story may seem unbelievable, but I have proof. I have records. I have letters from families. I have the changes in the lives of the recipients. I recorded this video because I want everyone to know that blood donation matters. Even if the donor passes away, their blood donation continues to save lives. I also want everyone to know that there are souls waiting for someone to tell them that what they did mattered. Waiting for someone to thank them. If anyone is listening and has ever received a blood transfusion, please know that someone died to save you. Live well, live worthily, continue to help others. And if anyone is considering donating blood, please do. Maybe you will save a life. Maybe you will become a hero. Maybe one day someone will thank you for giving them a chance to live. Thank you for listening. This is Jessica Williams, and I believe that love can be transmitted through blood from one heart to another. The video ends. That was Jessica Williams' story. I sat silently in the studio after watching the video, not because I was scared, but because I felt deeply inspired. I researched Denver Health Blood Bank. Indeed, there is an employee named Jessica Williams working there. I also checked news reports about deceased blood donors. David Martinez, Maria Rodriguez, Robert Chen, all were real. What impressed me most were the actions Jessica took after her experience. She didn't just hear whispers, she acted. She connected the families, the recipients, and the legacy of the blood donors. I found a small article on the Denver Health website. It spoke of a special connection program between the families of deceased blood donors and their recipients. The program was created by a blood bank employee after a profound personal experience. I believe that is Jessica Williams' program. David Martinez, Maria Rodriguez, Robert Chen, they died, but they continued to live through the people whose blood they saved. That is a true form of immortality, a way for our lives to have meaning even after we are gone. Do you know? Every time you donate blood, you can save up to 3 lives. Red blood cells, platelets, and plasma can be separated to help different patients. One act of yours can create 3 miracles, and even if you are no longer here, your blood can continue to save others. A part of you will still exist, still bring life. David, Maria, and Robert understood this. They chose to donate blood to help others, and even when they passed away, they still wanted to ensure that their blood donation had meaning. Jessica Williams became the bridge between them and the world. She ensured that they were remembered, thanked, and honored. If you are listening and have never donated blood, perhaps this is the time to consider it. Not because of what you will get from it, but because of what you can give. You can save a life. You can become a hero. And if you have ever received a blood transfusion, know that someone gave you a part of their life. Live worthily, live well, continue to help others. Blood is not just a liquid. It is life, it is hope, it is love transmitted from one person to another. We will continue with the final stories of this night. Stories of hope, of love, and of how we can make a difference in each other's lives. This is Morgan H., and I believe that in every drop of blood, there is a heart beating for someone else. Late Night Tales Radio continues with Morgan H. We've been through a long night with 9 stories of people who experienced clinical death. Normally, I would end the show now. But tonight, or rather this morning, I feel we haven't completed our journey. There are still stories to be told, souls to be heard. Just now, after I told about Jessica Williams and the traces on the blood bags, I received a call from Atlanta, Georgia. The caller was a woman with a distinct Southern accent, speaking slowly but very clearly. She said she had been awake all night listening to the show and finally decided to call. "Dear Morgan," she said, "I'm Anna Mitchell. I've been listening to your show all night. I know you're about to end, but I need to tell my story. I think it fits what you're sharing. Can you tell it now?" I asked, "Yes, I'm ready. I've been waiting for this opportunity for a long time." Anna Mitchell, 35, works as a graphic designer in Atlanta. She lives alone, taking care of her elderly mother. Her story begins with a very ordinary dental appointment, but ends with an experience she describes as both terrifying and beautiful. This is the story Anna Mitchell told me over the phone. "I've been scared of the dentist since childhood, not because of the pain, but because of the smell of medicine and the sound of the drill. But last month, I had no other choice. I had a tooth that had been decaying for too long, hurting so much I couldn't eat or drink. I made an appointment at Atlanta Dental Hospital. Dr. Lewis, a well-known dentist in the city. He said, 'You need minor surgery to extract the tooth root. We'll take an x-ray first,' he said, to see the exact position of the root. I had no problem with x-rays. I'd had many before, but this time was different. When I bit down on the plastic piece to hold the x-ray film, I felt a dizzy spell. At first, I thought it was due to anxiety, but the dizziness grew stronger. I felt unwell. 'I don't feel well,' I told Dr. Lewis. 'Just hold still for 1 more minute,' he said from the control room, but I couldn't hold still. I felt as if someone was choking me. I couldn't breathe. I tried to call out, but no sound came. Then I passed out. The strange thing was, I could still see everything. I saw my body lying in the dental chair. I saw Dr. Lewis rushing in to check my pulse. 'She has no pulse,' he shouted. I looked at the clock on the wall, 2:15 p.m. I wondered if I was dead. Then I heard a voice not from Dr. Lewis or the nurse, but from somewhere else. 'Can you see me?' the voice asked. I looked around, saw no one, only the x-ray machine still operating. 'I'm in the film,' the voice said. 'I'm in the x-ray film.' I looked towards the x-ray display screen. On it was an image of my teeth, but there was something unusual. In the image, I saw a small hand. 'That's me,' the voice said. 'I'm Catherine.' 'Who are you?' I asked. 'I'm a little girl. I'm 7 years old. I died here 3 years ago.' I looked closer at the x-ray image. The small hand was wearing a ring with a tiny star shape. 'How did you die?' I asked. 'I was allergic to anesthetic, but no one knew. I stopped breathing while having an x-ray.' I felt sad. A 7-year-old child died just from a dental visit. 'Why are you still here?' I asked. 'I'm waiting for my mom.' 'Where's your mom?' 'I don't know. My mom left me here. Mom said she would wait for me in the waiting room, but when I died, I didn't see her.' I felt my heart break. A child had died and was still waiting for her mother. 'What's your mom's name?' I asked. 'Susan Catherine Walls. I was named after her. My name is Catherine Susan Walls. Do you know where your mom is?' 'I don't know. My mom disappeared after I died. No one told me where she went.' I looked at the ring on the small hand in the x-ray image. 'What is that ring?' I asked. 'My mom gave it to me. She said it was a princess ring. I loved it very much.' 'What do you want me to do?' 'I want you to find my mom. I want to know if my mom remembers me.' I felt myself crying, but I didn't know how to cry in this state. 'I will find your mom,' I promised. 'Really?' Catherine asked, her voice full of hope. 'Really, I will find your mom.' Just then, I heard the alarm. I saw Dr. Lewis performing CPR on me. 'I have to go,' I told Catherine. 'Don't forget me,' Catherine said. Don't forget to find my mom. I won't forget. I woke up in the dental chair. Dr. Lewis was bending over me with a worried expression. You stopped breathing for 3 minutes, he said. I thought I lost you. How's the x-ray? I asked. We'll take another one later. Right now, it's important that you're okay. But I want to see the first x-ray, I asked Dr. Lewis to show it to me. This film is a bit strange, he said. It seems to have some interference. A strange image appeared. He showed it to me, and I saw it, the small hand with the star-shaped ring. Can you print this film for me? I asked. Why? It's not clear. I need it. After leaving the dental office, I began to research Catherine Susan Walsh. I called the hospital, asking for patient records. It took a week, but I found the information. Catherine Susan Walsh, 7 years old, died on May 15, 2021 at Atlanta Dental Hospital. Cause of death: anaphylactic shock due to anesthetic allergy. I also found information about her mother. Susan Catherine Walsh, 28, had signed a refusal to accept her daughter's body. She had disappeared right after Catherine died. I felt angry. How could a mother abandon her child like that? I hired a private detective to find Susan Walsh. It took 2 weeks, but we found her. She was living in Miami, Florida. She had changed her name to Susan Miller. I flew to Miami to meet her. I found her working at a small grocery store. When I called Catherine's name, she cried. I knew you would come because of my daughter, she said. I've been waiting for this. Why did you abandon your child? I asked. I couldn't bear it. I killed my child. I took her to the dentist. I didn't know she was allergic to anesthetic. That's not your fault. Yes, it is my fault. I'm her mother. I should have known. Susan Walsh cried for an hour. She told me about Catherine, about how her daughter loved to read books, about how her daughter always wanted to be a princess. My daughter had a small ring, she said. I bought it for her 6th birthday. She loved that ring very much. A star-shaped ring? I asked. Susan looked at me in surprise. How did you know? I told her about my experience, about Catherine, about what she had said. My daughter is still there, Susan asked. Your daughter is waiting for you. Your daughter wants to know if you remember her. Susan sobbed uncontrollably. I remember her every day. I just couldn't face what happened. Your daughter needs you. Your daughter needs to know that you love her. Susan agreed to return to Atlanta with me. We went to Atlanta Dental Hospital. I asked permission to take an x-ray again. I want to see my child, Susan said. I want to tell her I'm sorry. Dr. Lewis agreed. He thought we were a little strange, but he still helped. When they took the x-ray, I didn't see Catherine, but Susan did. Catherine, Susan cried out. My daughter, Mom is sorry. I'm sorry I left you. I couldn't hear Catherine, but I could see Susan talking to someone. Can you forgive me? Susan asked. Susan smiled through tears. Thank you. I love you very much. I've always loved you. Can you go now? Susan asked. Can you rest in peace? Susan nodded. Yes, go, rest in peace. I'll be okay. When the x-ray was done, the film was completely normal. No small hand, no ring. Catherine was gone. Susan and I went to the cemetery where Catherine was buried. A small grave with only a simple headstone. Catherine Susan Walsh, 2014-2021. Susan brought a bouquet of flowers and a new ring. A star-shaped ring, just like the one she had given Catherine. This is a new ring for you, Susan said. I want you to always remember that you are my princess. We sat by the grave for an hour. Susan told her daughter about her life, about how she thought of Catherine every day, about how much she loved Catherine. I will never leave you again, Susan promised. I will visit you every week. I will talk to you. I will always remember you. When we left the cemetery, Susan decided to move back to Atlanta. She wanted to be close to her daughter. Thank you, Susan said to me. Thank you for helping me find my child. Thank you for being brave enough to come back, I said. Susan now lives in Atlanta. She visits Catherine's grave every week. She also volunteers at an organization that supports families who have lost children. I couldn't save my child, she said, but I can help other families. I can make sure they don't give up like I did. And me, I didn't need dental surgery anymore. After that experience, my toothache completely disappeared. Dr. Lewis said it was a miracle, but I knew it wasn't a miracle. It was Catherine. She healed my pain just as I had healed the pain in her heart. I still keep the first x-ray film, the film with the image of the small hand with the ring. I keep it framed in my office to remind me that love can transcend death. And sometimes when I look at that film, I see Catherine waving goodbye to me. A little girl who found her mother and finally found peace. That was Anna Mitchell's story. When she finished, I felt my heart warm. not because of the miracle Anna experienced, but because of the love between mother and child, which, though perhaps interrupted by pain and guilt, always exists. "Anna," I said, "are you still in touch with Susan?" "Yes, we've become friends. She's one of the people I admire most. She taught me that forgiving yourself is as important as forgiving others." "And Catherine?" "Catherine has moved on. She found what she needed. Her mother's love and forgiveness. She doesn't need to wait anymore." I thanked Anna for sharing the story. After hanging up, I sat quietly in the studio, contemplating what I had just heard. Catherine Susan Walsh, a 7-year-old girl who died from a medical accident. But instead of becoming a vengeful spirit, she only wanted one thing: her mother's love. Susan Walsh, a mother who ran from her pain but finally found the courage to return and face that love. Anna Mitchell, a stranger, willing to travel across the country to help a little girl she had never met. Those are 3 love stories. 3 stories about how it's never too late to do the right thing. 3 stories about how love can heal all wounds. How many of us carry pain, guilt, and regret in our hearts? How many of us think it's too late to mend, to forgive, to love? The story of Catherine and Susan shows us that it's never too late. Love never dies. It's just waiting to be expressed. If you have someone you need to apologize to, do it today. If you have someone you need to forgive, open your heart. If you have someone you love but haven't told, tell them. Don't become Catherine, waiting in loneliness. Don't become Susan, living with regret. Be Anna, ready to act out of love. We have 2 final stories before the end of this long night. 2 stories about the music of the heart and the whispers of the wind. Stay with me, dear listeners. Our journey is about to end. This is Morgan H., and I believe that it's never too late for love to be expressed. Late Night Tales Radio with Morgan H. We are nearing the end of a long and emotional night. But our journey isn't over. There are 2 final stories left to tell. 2 stories that will bring this night to a complete close. The 11th story came to me in a very special way. About 15 minutes ago, I received a voicemail message, not on my usual answering machine, but on an old radio that I used to listen to other frequencies. The message was very short, only a few sentences. "Mr. Morgan H., I'm Mark Johnson from New Orleans. I have a story about music from the heart. If you're still broadcasting, please call me." I called Mark Johnson immediately. He answered after the first ring, as if he had been waiting. "Thank you for calling," he said. "I've been listening to your show all night. I know you'll understand my story." Mark Johnson, 32, is a jazz musician in New Orleans. He plays trumpet in bars on Bourbon Street. He lives the life of a free, poor, but passionate street artist. "I died," he said directly. 2 weeks ago at New Orleans emergency room, I heard music when I died, but not ordinary music, but music from my own heart. This is the story Mark Johnson told me. "I have always lived with music. Since I was a child, I heard music everywhere, in the sound of rain, in the wind, in the footsteps of people walking on the sidewalk. New Orleans is the perfect city for someone like me. Music here is like air, everyone can feel it. Jazz, blues, soul, all blended into a symphony of life. I play the trumpet, not because I'm good, but because the trumpet says what I can't say in words. It tells the stories I carry in my heart." On October 2nd, I was playing music at a small bar on Bourbon Street. It was a normal night, not many customers, not much tip, but I played with all my heart as always. While playing, I suddenly felt chest pain. Not ordinary pain, but a pain as if someone was stabbing my heart with a knife. I tried to keep playing, but the pain became more severe. I couldn't breathe. I dropped the trumpet. "I'm not feeling well," I told the owner. That's the last thing I remember, before collapsing to the floor. I was taken to New Orleans emergency room. The doctor said I had a heart attack. At 32, too young for this disease. "We need surgery immediately," the doctor said. "You might not make it if we wait." I was taken to the emergency room. They hooked me up to a heart monitor. I heard a steady beat, my heartbeat. Then the beeping started to slow down, slower, even slower. Then it stopped. I heard an alarm, doctors shouting, but I no longer felt pain. I felt relieved. I saw my body lying on the hospital bed. The doctors were trying to resuscitate me, but I knew it was too late. I heard music. At first, I thought it was music from a radio in the hospital, but it wasn't. The music came from the heart monitor. Instead of a steady beep, the machine was emitting musical notes. Notes of a slow, soulful jazz piece. I knew that song. It was Summertime by George Gershwin, one of the most classic jazz pieces. I had played it thousands of times, but this time it was played by my own heart. Each beat of my heart created a note. Each note told a story. I looked around the emergency room and I saw them, other musicians, people who had died here. An old man was playing the piano. His fingers moved on invisible keys. The sound came from his heart monitor. A young woman was singing. Her voice came from the ventilator. Each breath created a note. A young man was playing the guitar. His fingers strummed invisible strings. The sound came from the IV drip. "Welcome to the band," the old man said to me. "I'm Louis. I've been playing piano here for 80 years. I'm Marie," the young woman said. "I've been singing here for 50 years. I'm Jackson," the young man said. "I've been playing guitar here for 20 years. You all died?" I asked. "We died," Louis said, "but our music lives on." "Why are you all still here?" "Because New Orleans needs music," Marie said. "Even in the hospital, even in death. We play music for those who are dying," Jackson said. "We make death more beautiful." I understood they were musical souls. They had chosen to stay to bring music to life's final moments. "Do you want to join us?" Louis asked. I looked at the trumpet in my hand. It had appeared miraculously. "What can I play?" I asked. "Play what you feel," Marie said. "Play your story." I raised the trumpet to my lips, and I began to play. I played about my childhood, about nights listening to my mother's lullabies, about mornings waking up to jazz from the radio. I played about my early days learning music, about failures, about small successes. I played about New Orleans, about its music-filled streets, about musician friends, about nights playing until dawn. I played about love, about the women I had loved, about those who had left me, about those who were still in my heart. I played about dreams that came true, about broken dreams, about dreams that were still there. And finally, I played about death, about not being afraid, about feeling peaceful, about knowing that music would live forever. When I finished playing, they all applauded. "That was the most beautiful solo I've ever heard," Louis said. "Are you ready to stay with us?" Marie said, but I looked back at my body. The doctors were still trying to save me. I saw tears in the eyes of a young nurse. "I'm not ready," I said. "I still have music to play in the other world." "We understand," Jackson said, "but you will always be a part of the band. You will always carry our music in your heart." "And when you're ready," Louis said, "we'll be waiting for you." I felt myself being pulled back. The music from the heart monitor began to fade. "Goodbye," I told them. "Goodbye," they said. I woke up on the hospital bed. The doctors were bending over me with surprised expressions. "You're back," one said. "You died for 5 minutes. We thought we lost you." I looked up at the heart monitor. It was emitting a steady beep, but I still heard the music faint but still there. "Can I have my trumpet?" I asked. "Trumpet?" the doctor asked. "Why do you need a trumpet?" "I need to play music." They thought I was delirious, but I knew what I needed to do. I needed to bring the music from the other world to this world. After being discharged, I returned to playing music, but the way I played had changed. I no longer just played for tips. I played for those who needed to hear music. I played at the hospital for dying patients, for grieving families, for tired nurses. I played at nursing homes for lonely seniors, for those waiting for death. I played at funeral homes for those who had lost loved ones, for souls in transition. And every time I played, I heard them, Louis, Marie, Jackson, and the other musicians. They were playing with me. They were helping me bring music from the other side. I formed a new band. I called it Heartbeat Jazz. We play music for those on the threshold between life and death. The other band members don't know about Louis, Marie, and Jackson. They just know that our music has something special, something healing. Every night before bed, I play my trumpet. I play for the dead. I play for the living. I play for both worlds. And I know that one day, when I'm ready, I will join the eternal band. I will play music for others passing through the final gateway. But for now, I still have music to play here, still people who need to hear music, still hearts that need to be healed. I called Morgan because I want everyone to know that music never dies. Even when we die, music lives on in the people we've touched. And if anyone is listening and in pain, listen. Listen to the music around you. It's always there in your heartbeat, in your breath, in your footsteps. Let music heal you. Let music connect you with others. Let music show you that we are all part of the same symphony. The symphony of life, the symphony of hope, and that symphony will never end. That was Mark Johnson's story. When he finished, I was silent for a long moment. I could hear his breathing over the phone, and I swear I also heard very faint music, like a distant trumpet. "Mark," I said, "do you still hear Junge's horn?" "Every day," he replied. Every time I play the trumpet, I hear them, Louis Marie Jackson. They're playing with me. They're teaching me new songs. How has music changed your life? It gave me purpose. Before, I only played music to make a living. Now I play music to heal, to connect, to love. I thank Mark for sharing the story. After hanging up, I sat quietly in the studio, listening to the sounds around me. I heard birds chirping. I heard the wind blowing through the trees. I heard distant traffic, and I realized that all those sounds were music. Mark Johnson was right. Music is everywhere. We just need to know how to listen. Louis Marie Jackson and the other musicians in the hospital, they found a way to turn death into something beautiful. They transformed life's final moments into immortal melodies. And Mark Johnson brought that music back to the world of the living. He became a bridge between two worlds. He proved that music can heal, can connect, can love. How many of us have forgotten how to listen to the music in life? How many have let beautiful sounds pass by without noticing? Stop for a minute, listen around you. Do you hear your heartbeat? Do you hear your breath? Do you hear the music of life? That's the music Mark Johnson learned. That's the music Louis Marie and Jackson taught him. That's the music we can all hear if we open our hearts. We have only one last story. The final story of this long night. A story about the wind, about whispers, and about an end that is also a beginning. Stay with me, dear listeners. Our journey is about to conclude. This is Morgan H., and I believe that every heart has its own song, waiting to be played. Late Night Tales Radio with Morgan H. We have reached the last story of this long night. The sun is high now, light is flooding the Whispering Pines forest. I can hear the sounds of normal life beginning in the distant town. But here, in this small studio, we still have one last story to tell. A story that will conclude our journey tonight. Over the past hours, we have listened together to 11 stories of people who experienced clinical death. 11 stories of love, of sacrifice, of connections that transcend the boundary between life and death. This final story came to me in a very special way. Not through phone, email, or letter, but through the very wind blowing through this studio window. About 10 minutes ago, as I was preparing for the final story, a strong gust of wind suddenly swept into the studio. The wind carried a very faint but clear whisper, "Morgan H., I need to tell my story." I listened, and in the sound of the wind, I heard the voice of a young woman. "I am Emma Taylor. I am 29 years old. I died at Phoenix Biobank, and I have a story that needs to be told. This is the last story of tonight." A story told by the wind itself, by the very air we breathe. I work at Phoenix Biobank, a research and biospecimen storage facility in Arizona. My job is to manage the cold storage, where thousands of DNA samples, tissue samples, and other biological materials are preserved. It's a quiet job. I like the stillness. I like working with numbers, with data. I'm not good at communicating with others, but I'm good at caring for these specimens. Each specimen has a story. A DNA sample from a child with a rare disease, a tissue sample from a cancer patient, a blood sample from a donor. I am the caretaker for these stories. On October 12th, I was working the night shift. I liked night shifts because no one bothered me, just me, the specimens, and the gentle hum of the air conditioning system. The air conditioning system is very important. It maintains a stable temperature for the entire facility. A small malfunction could destroy thousands of precious specimens. That night, I noticed the fan noise of the air conditioning seemed unusual. Not the normal hum, but something like whispers. At first, I thought it was due to fatigue. I had been working for 12 continuous hours, but the whispers became clearer. "Help us," I heard. "Remember us," another voice said. "Don't let us be forgotten," a third voice. I stood up to check the air conditioning system. Everything was working normally. System stable, temperature stable, no alarms, but the whispers continued. I began to understand. The whispers came from the specimens, from the people who had donated their DNA, tissue, and blood for scientific research. They wanted to be remembered. They wanted someone to know that they had contributed to science, that a part of them was still alive, still helping others. I started talking to them. "I hear you," I said. The whispers became clearer. "I'm David," a voice said. "I donated a DNA sample for Alzheimer's research. I hope it will help find a cure." "I'm Maria," another voice. "I donated a tissue sample from my tumor. I want it to help cancer research." "I'm Robert," a third voice. I donated my body to science when I died. I wanted my death to have meaning. Story after story. Thousands of voices, thousands of people who had donated a part of their body for research. What do you want? I asked. We want to know that our donations made a difference, David said. We want to know that the research is progressing. We want to be remembered, Maria said. Not just as specimens, but as human beings. We want our families to know that we are still helping others, Robert said. I understand. They didn't just want to be numbers in a database. They wanted to be remembered as people who sacrificed a part of themselves for science. I will help you, I promised. Just then, I felt it difficult to breathe. The air in the room suddenly became thick. I tried to get to the door but couldn't. I realized something. The air conditioning system had broken down, oxygen was depleting, carbon dioxide was building up. I tried to press the alarm button, but it was too late. I fell to the floor. You're coming to us now, I heard David say. Welcome, Maria said. You've become one of us, Robert said. I saw myself standing in a pure white room. Around me were thousands of people. All were smiling at me. Who are you? I asked. We are the donors, David said. We donated tissue, organs, bodies for science, and now you are one of us too, Maria said. I looked down at my body. I was still whole, but I knew that I had died. Do you want to stay with us? Robert asked. What if I stay? You will help us monitor the research, David said. You will ensure that our donations are used correctly. You will connect us with our families, Maria said. You will let them know that we are still helping others. And if I don't stay? You can go back, Robert said, but you will carry a responsibility. You will have to tell our story. I thought about my life. I had no family, not many friends, but I had my job. I had these specimens to care for. I want to go back, I said. I want to tell your story. We will help you, David said. We will tell you what to do. I felt myself being pulled back. The whispers began to fade. Don't forget us, they said. I will never forget. I woke up in the emergency room. The doctor said I had carbon monoxide poisoning. I had stopped breathing for 6 minutes. You're lucky, the doctor said. Your colleague found you and called emergency services in time. After being discharged, I started a new job. I created a new database for Phoenix Biobank, not just storing information about specimens, but also information about the donors. I contacted their families. I told them about the research that was using their loved ones' specimens. David's family learned that his DNA had helped develop new medicine for Alzheimer's. Maria's family learned that her tissue sample had helped find new cancer treatments. Robert's family learned that his body donation had helped train dozens of doctors. I also created a website called Silent Heroes. I share the stories of the donors. I let everyone know that they are heroes of science. Every night when I work the night shift, I still hear whispers from the air conditioning system. But now they are no longer pleas for help, but thanks. Thank you, David said. You helped us be remembered, Maria said. You gave our families pride, Robert said, and I know that I did the right thing. I gave the donors what they needed most: remembrance, respect, gratitude. I'm telling this story through the wind because I want everyone to know that there are people who have donated their bodies to science. They have sacrificed to help others. If anyone is listening and considering donating organs or their body for research, please know that it has immense meaning. You will become a part of scientific discoveries. You will help save many lives. And if anyone has lost a loved one who donated to science, please know that they are heroes. They are still living through the research. They still helping others. Listen to the wind, listen to the whispers. Maybe you will hear them say thank you for remembering us. That is my story. Emma Taylor, caretaker of specimens, storyteller for donors, a believer that science and love can change the world. The wind gradually softened, Emma Taylor's whispers faded, and I sat still in the studio, feeling the silence after the last story. Emma Taylor, a young woman who died in an accident but chose to come back to tell the story of the donors. She transformed her daily job into a sacred mission. I researched Phoenix Biobank. Indeed, there was an air conditioning system malfunction on October 12th. An employee named Emma Taylor suffered mild carbon monoxide poisoning but recovered completely. I also found the Silent Heroes website. It's a beautiful website that honors those who have donated their bodies to science. Each story is told with respect and gratitude. And now, dear listeners, we have reached the end of our journey tonight. 12 stories, 12 people who experienced clinical death, 12 experiences at the boundary between life and death. We heard about Lily, the 8-year-old girl who just wanted to be remembered, about Jonathan Rivera and the song of his deceased father, about Dr. Patricia Hernandez and love transcending death. We heard about Michael Thompson and Emma Rodriguez, about the blood writing on the IV bag, about Emily Foster and Little Hope, about sacrifice and courage. We heard about David Kim and Yunga Park, about music transcending time, about Lisa Rodriguez and the veterans, about turning trauma into strength. We heard about Robert Davis and Marcus Wheeler, about unspoken words, about Jessica Williams and the traces on blood bags, about love transmitted from one person to another. We heard about Anna Mitchell and Catherine Walsh, about the love between mother and child, about Mark Johnson and the Eternal Band, about healing music. And finally, about Emma Taylor and the Donors, about turning death into life for others. 12 stories, but in reality, it's a single story. The story of love, of connection, of how no one truly dies if they continue to live in our hearts. I don't know if all these stories are real. I don't know if the people who told them exist. But I know one thing, all of them contain the truth about human love. We live in a world full of division, full of hatred, full of fear. But tonight's stories show us that deep down, we are all connected by love. Love knows no boundaries, no skin color, no religion, no nationality, no age, gender, class, and not even life or death. The deceased in tonight's stories, they still love, they still care, they still want to help. They prove that love is stronger than death. And the living, they have shown us that we can choose how to live. We can choose to love, we can choose to help, we can choose to turn pain into strength. It's morning now, the night has ended, a new day has begun. But the stories we've heard will continue to live in our hearts. I want to thank all of you who have accompanied me on this long night. Thank you for listening, thank you for trusting, thank you for opening your hearts to stories of love. And I want to thank all the people who shared their stories. Whether they are real or just products of imagination, they have given us valuable lessons about life. Remember what we learned tonight. Say words of love while you still can. Don't let them become unspoken words. Help those who need help. Every small act can change a life. Listen, around us there are many stories that need to be told, many people who need to be heard. Love. Love your family, friends, and even strangers. Because love is the only thing that can heal this world. And remember, death is not the end. It is just a transition. Those we love will always live in our hearts. This is Morgan H., broadcasting from the small radio station deep in the Whispering Pines forest. Thank you for accompanying Late Night Tales Radio. I will return next Saturday at the same time with new stories. Stories of love, of hope, of the connection between us. Until then, live well, love much, and listen to the whispers around you. Who knows, maybe you'll hear a story that needs to be told. Have a good day, and remember that you are never truly alone. Love is always there, waiting to be shared. Late Night Tales Radio signing off.